Ah, listen, everybody listening here, you're in for a treat. You're in for another classic episode. And why is that? It's because we are very fortunate to have another up and coming and very talented podcasting group joining the Productive Conversations podcast today. They are the hosts of the Between Two Gardens podcast, available on Spotify right now and soon to be other podcasting platforms and YouTube. But having said that, we have two of the greats in this industry, and I'm so happy to talk more about their show, and we'll obviously have some fun with sports. But as I said, it's the host of the Between Two Gardens podcast, Thomas Arduino. What's going on, man? Returning guest, how are you doing?
I'm good, Matt. How are you doing?
Very, very, very well today. And Thomas's co-host of the Between Two Gardens podcast is Dan Emmans. What's up, Dan? Welcome to Productive Conversations.
Oh my goodness, Matt. Two of the greats. We've been doing this for a month, man, but I appreciate the flattery big time.
Maybe one day, but
I have a great instinct on this kind of stuff. So
I appreciate it. Doing great. Happy to be here.
Thank you, man. Happy to have you. But yep, Thomas Arduino, Dan Emmans, the host of the Between Two Gardens podcast here right now. And we're so happy for having them join us. So to start it off, guys, as we learn about your show, learn about your partnership, and obviously we have to talk about we obviously have to talk sports here, what it brings us together. But why don't we just start with Dan? How are we doing today? How are we doing? How's 2021 started for you?
Dude, 2021 has honestly been a great year so far. I've been trying a lot of really new stuff. This podcast is being one of my favorite passion projects so far. But yeah, really trying to get the creative outlets going and having an opportunity to reconnect with Tom at the same time through this podcast. It's been a really good start, honestly.
I love it. I love it. Thomas, how are we doing today? Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Matt. Doing well. Just like Dan, trying to keep the productive and creative juices flowing. The podcast, it's really been a fun creative endeavor. And really something that I've wanted to do for a while. So really came up with the idea and one day, brought it up to Dan and was like, yo, we talk about this in, DMs, texts all the time. Why don't we make it public and see if other people would like to tune in and listen? So we started it.
Look at that, man. Look at that. And we are definitely going to go all in about that and your partnership. But first, before we get into the show, talking about the great podcast you guys produce again, Between Two Gardens on Spotify, talk to me. Why don't we get to know each other a little more? And we'll start with Dan here as the returning guest. But Dan, tell me about yourself. Obviously, as an up-and-coming podcaster, and we'll talk about how you and Tom met after this. But tell me about for my audience, as you're new to it, talk to me about, what you do nowadays, what you aspire to be. And we know what brings you guys together as sports fans, is sports, as Thomas is a New York sports fan. You are the Boston sports fan. But talk to me about how you became, where you initially from, and how did you join the Boston fandom, who has had quite a few years. And I'm sure you know all about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll start at the beginning here. I am originally from Danbury, Connecticut, which is I'm about 2 exits from the New York line where I live. So growing up, it was mostly New York fans. You obviously had a little bit of split, as you do most places in Connecticut, but all my friends growing up were mostly New York fans. It was kind of just everywhere, being so close. Like an hour and 10 minutes from New York City is my hometown. So that was the beginning of kind of my sports knowledge, is kind of just knowing that you're in this relatively divided territory, but it definitely leans one way. I'd say what drew me to the Boston fandom originally was Tom Brady was my first hero. The Patriots, I really owe most of my love for sports to. That's how I got into watching sports, falling in love with competition in general. Yeah, and that obviously followed with hockey and baseball, which are now equal loves of mine. But yeah, coming up through elementary, middle school, high school, I kind of just fell more and more into it. And it felt kind of cool being one of the only Boston fans in like my classrooms growing up. That was pretty fun. People ask me all the time because I have friends from all over the state now, and they say, "You're from Danbury, you're so close to New York. How did you become a Boston fan?" And it was a little bit of contrarianism off the top, admittedly, but over time, just getting those initial Patriots hooks in me, and then kind of just following suit from there. So went to college. Right after college, moved up to Boston for grad school. Boston has been my dream city, not just for sports, forever. I've wanted to live here since I was in middle school. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So I stayed after I graduated. I've been here for about 3 years. My real job is in higher ed. That's what I went to grad school for. I was lucky enough to land a job with Harvard Medical School as soon as I graduated.
All right. Congrats on that as well. Presence of greatness here.
Thank you. So yeah, higher ed is definitely a huge passion of mine. It's something I love doing. But you know, sports talk has always been on the side for me. It's something I've always done with a lot of my friends. It's something I enjoy doing. It's something that I feel like I was pretty good at. And then I've been looking for an opportunity, honestly, for years now to really pursue that. And I think the friendship that I had with Tom and this idea that we had for this podcast, where it leaves us enough room to really flex our sports muscles, but it's enough of a spin on the traditional just sports talk show, that I really believe in this idea. And I still really believe in this idea. And it's been a really cool journey so far. Like I said, we've only been at it for about a month. We had the idea probably 4 or 5 months ago, but we finally decided to put the boots on the ground. We came up with the name, did the art, did the music, started talking about like what the format of the show was going to be. And it's been a really, really cool side project for me. Just, I haven't built something from the ground up in a long time. Yeah. So being on the ground floor and really getting in what you put out, getting out what you put into something like this has been a really, really cool experience for me.
How fulfilling and how inspiring as well. And this is so cool. And like, what part of Boston are you at?
So my first 2 years, I was in East Boston. That's where I moved out to. And now I'm in Brookline, which is right next to the Fenway neighborhood. So I'm right off the Green Line.
O'Brien and JFK, right? The Kennedy.
Yeah, JFK lived here for the first 10 years of his life. Yeah, Conan's originally from here too. Yeah, it's a cool neighborhood for sure.
Look at that, man. Awesome. And let me say, now that when you came into Boston, what is your favorite places to hang out?
So my favorite street in Boston is definitely Lansdowne Street, right across the street from Fenway Park.
Oh yeah.
The Lansdowne pub has been my go-to bar to go to watch games, get dinner with friends. It's kind of been my McLaren's from How I Met Your Mother, if anybody out there is into that.
Of course, or your hub, the hub at Fred's.
Yeah, exactly.
Moe's and Simpsons.
Yep, it's my Patties.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, the Fenway neighborhood is definitely one of my favorite places to hang out. But I have friends all over Allston, Brighton. I usually kind of just come out to them, check out their neighborhoods whenever I can. So I'm all over the place, man. And when I lived in Eastie, there were a bunch of cool restaurants there too. And then I went to Suffolk University for grad school, which is right in the heart of downtown. So I was in the thick of downtown too. So I'm literally all over the place.
Yeah, look at that. And you know, you always hear the Lansdowne Street, all the people who've hit the home runs over the marsh. Oh, that's now in Lansdowne Street.
Yeah, sure you see that banging off the House of Blues, right? Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, my mom went to Boston to BU. She did her undergrad, and she never stops complaining. And Boston is an amazing city, and you know, I'm sure you could agree. We just sports hate your teams as you do for us, and right. But it really is cool. I mean, Boston you know, work in New York. I've been working in New York City. You know, I worked for the last 4 years until our last 5 years until the pandemic as we transition. But, you know, one thing about Boston is just how clean it is for a major city. That's the one thing that really stuck out to me. It's just how breathable the air is. And honestly, the good vibes. I will say
It's
that.
I tell people all the time, man. I think honestly, if it were up to me, I think New York is a place to visit. I think Boston is a place to live. I think
Yeah.
it's just a little bit more. It's got the life. It's got the energy, but it's not quite as shoulder to shoulder with everybody. And it really is. It's a small town with big city perks, and that's what I love most about it.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from there. So, just to Thomas, transitioning to Thomas right here. Now, as you said, as we got to know you throughout in your first appearance, Thomas, but just for the sake of this, can you just talk to me about your New York sports fandom as Dan did for his Boston? You know, I know where the story comes from, but for my audience who doesn't know, why did you decide to be a New York sports fan? You know, also growing up in the state in between. Why did you decide to pick New York sports?
He had his pick and he chose wrong. It's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes from just my dad and my grandfather being huge New York sports fans, and basically just picked up the fandom from them, and yeah, kind of just rolled with it. Was born in August '96. The Yankees won in October, so it was kind of like born in the thick of the dynasty, or actually it was the beginning of the dynasty. And Jeter coming onto the scene. So just from a young age, I was just, enthralled and obsessed with those Yankees teams and Jeter, growing up and playing baseball. I just wanted to be Jeter. I wore number 2. I wanted to play shortstop, infield. So basically that's where it all started.
Yeah, and you specifically picked in the New York's, obviously you could go to two sides. You picked the traditional Yankee Giants Nick Ranger route, right?
Yeah, the winning side.
Exactly.
Winning is a strong word.
Except for the Knicks, but I mean, hey, Brooklyn's never won anything yet either.
We have an exciting summer of basketball, and can't wait to get into that. So, all right. We hit on the sports fandom, family influence, or, being rebellious like Dan, choosing the other side and being different.
Those Boston Rebels.
Guys, you're obviously grown up a sports fan. It's been quite, you guys born in the late 90s. And, obviously New York had a lead pretty much, obviously Yankees dynasty late 90s. Giants made the Super Bowl in 2000, then won again, then actually won in 07 and 11. Knicks had at the tail end, they did make the finals in 99, only to lose to the Spurs. Then very sporadic playoff appearances, only in 04 and then 13, and we know what happened there. Then Rangers winning they won the Eastern Conference, went to the Stanley Cup in 14 to a tough 5-game series loss to LA. Then we have Dan, the greatest stretch ever. I mean, his sports towns, between 2000 and 2010, all 4 major league sports won a championship. Obviously Patriots dynasty, Boston having an incredible run, a tough run to swallow, but
Yep. I moved to Boston September 2018, and I got 2 parades in my first 6 months.
Exactly.
Can't beat it.
I saw this kid, like a 7-year-old kid, who put a sign, and he's like, "This is my 9th parade" or something.
Yep. Yeah, that kid's at every single year he's there.
Man,
I think he's like, it started when he was like 3, and it was like 3 years old, 4 parades, and now he's like 22, and he still just makes the same sign, like 22 years old.
Unbelievable.
But if I could take a moment to say just how inspired by Tom's story I was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Tom was just sitting there, Tom knew when he was 6 weeks old watching the Yankees win the World Series. Tom said, "You know what? This is it for me."
According to my parents, I watched every single pitch from the 96 World Series on their lap.
I got a tear in my eye at that story. Like, just 6-week-old Tom Arduino was so inspired.
If we want to, if we want to throw stones at origin stories, allow me. So, what Dan left out from his origin story of his fandom is that he was actually for many years also a New Jersey Devils fan.
That is true. Marty Brodeur owned this ass for quite a while.
He didn't necessarily pledge his fandom to either side yet. While Boston was always in the picture, it was convenient that once the championships really picked up, he decided to join the Boston full time. I'll just put that out.
Allow me to address this.
Rebuttal is always allowed.
Yes.
Tom's got a point. Marty Brodeur was also one of my earliest heroes. He led me to root for the Devils for a brief period there. My dad is a diehard New York Mets fan. I have Mets blood coursing through every vein in my body right now. These are my grievances. It's out there. These are my ties to the New York, New Jersey fandom. They exist. They're out there. Just to clear the air.
You stay consistent though with the anti-Yankees, anti-Rangers, so you bleed into New York, New Jersey, but you don't bleed in so much that it's like, what's going on here?
Maybe
so I'll give you
the most innate thing that I knew like from birth is fuck the Yankees. Like before I even liked teams, it was in this house, we hate the Yankees. Like Yankee hate just comes so viscerally natural to me. It's
I think
really,
we're getting into something.
It's a genetic predisposition. It really is.
I think we need a study done on nature versus nurture for sports fandom, because I'm hearing from my side, it's a lot of, learn from my dad. So I just picked it up, but also from what you're saying, Dan, it sounds like it was just in you from the beginning. So it's interesting. It's like maybe it was in me from the beginning. Who knows? Like maybe it is a little innate. Who knows?
Yeah. You were literally born with it. I really should be a Mets fan. My dad's a Mets fan. My grandpa before that was a Met fan. Mom's a Met fan. I just saw the Yankees first. And honestly, that was where I would have walked on my own. And I really didn't realize my dad just was content with the Yankees and respected them. And, Thomas knows this. You guys know this. I don't feel like there's been a true Met and Yankee hate per se. I understand the Met fan hating the Yankee fan, but it's not like as intense as Yankees Red Sox and the Yankees Astros hate.
Right. Well, that actually might be changing because Tom will deny it. Yankees fans are so rattled that the Mets are getting good and that they might be competing for spotlight in New York.
Have you seen the Mets play this year?
I completely agree with you, especially with Cohen, especially when Cohen bought the team and tried to put it in a whole other level. And but I definitely want to get into this when we get in our MLB chat for sure. So Thomas, just save that passion.
I'll bottle that up because I got some fire to spit right now.
Perfect. That's exactly what I want.
Just don't make me cap it up for too long because it's gonna come out at some point.
Oh, I'll make sure, man. I'll make sure. But transitioning back, as you see, you guys have had some time, obviously growing up, coming of age, watching your teams go through highs and lows. Now that brings you to college. Talk to me about how you guys met initially. We briefly went on it before we started recording, but for the audience, talk to me about the moment you guys locked eyes with each other, and that brings us here today.
Yeah, we both went to Southern, and we're both in the honors college. And the way Southern does it, you can choose if you're in the honors college to.
And by the way, just for anyone, there's a Southern Connecticut State University.
Yes. So the way that Southern does it is you can live in Dan, what was it called? The Living Learning
Community.
Yes. So both of us decided to opt into the Living Learning Community, which had added perks of being in like the nicest dorm on campus and that type of stuff. So we were both on the same floor. We weren't roommates, but definitely right off the bat, we got the vibes that we were both giant sports fans of our respective cities and teams. And just kind of off the bat, we were both kind of the guys and got along that we were able to, riff back and forth and it not be like we wanted to rip each other's heads off, but like kind of we basically, and we do this on the podcast, we basically embody the hockey bros persona where it's like on the ice, we're going to rip each other's heads off, but off the ice, we're getting a beer, we're that type of vibe.
Those are your best kind of friends, the ones you can have fun with and they bring the best out of you. So
Exactly.
So do you remember how that you guys realized you were sport fans? Were Thomas, were you rocking a Yankee shirt or were
probably
you wearing a Red Sox shirt? Say, hey, I hate your team. Want to be friends or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, my wardrobe consists of, it's probably 90% Yankees, Rangers, Knicks stuff. So
100%.
100% probably. I mean, like I'm wearing that. I got like 5 other Rangers sweaters. So basically every day in college, I was wearing a different one or wearing a jersey, whatever. And I'm sure that I was walking down the hallway one day and Dan peeped out of his room, made a snarky comment. And I was like, all right, we'll see you in Game 7 this year.
It was really the bathroom. That's where.
Yeah, true.
That was the marketplace of ideas on the first floor of West Campus. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the bathroom's in the middle of the hallway. We were on first floor in West. It's in the middle, so it's kind of like in a weird way, like a meeting area.
Yeah, typical like straight line dorm building, like 10 rooms, like bathroom in the middle, and that's where you see everybody. But I don't know if we have I don't know if we have like a cool specific like moment of our origin story.
Not that I could remember, honestly.
But honestly, us starting this podcast has been a tide that has literally been rising for the last 6 years.
Yeah. For sure. No doubt. Always been in our minds at some point, and it's really just come out in the past, 6 months when we kind of really were like, oh, this would be cool. And then we kind of sat on it for a little bit, just, did whatever with our lives. And then we're like, all right, we got to start this. Like,
yeah,
we have too much to talk about.
Oh, I'm glad you guys made the big push for it. So why don't we hit on that part? Actually creating Between Two Gardens. So walk me through, as you said, you guys often talk DMing, saying this is our moment to do this once and for all. Do you remember that defining moment where you guys decided, okay, let's do the show. Let's buy the equipment. Let's get the editing software. Walk me through that process from deciding when to do it to your first episode drop about a month ago.
I'll try to find the DMs because I remember it happened on Twitter, Dan, right?
It sure did.
The real initial conversation did for some reason. I don't know what sparked it, but I'm going to go find it.
Why do you say that? I've heard a lot of partnerships. I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Dan. I was just saying,
of course not.
I was just saying that I've heard a lot of partnerships starting on Twitter, like Pardon My Take, Big Cat at PFT, Riff It on Twitter, leading to, most successful sports podcast now, arguably, or Jesus and Miro also, who are great hosts on Showtime, do great podcasts, and Jesus and Miro, they started on Twitter. So it's funny how the Twitter connection does seem to work with podcasters.
I think a lot of it was our DMs are basically just taking shots at one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what happened is it just boiled over that it was like, all right, you son of a bitch, like we're putting this on air because I'm sick of getting the torture and taking these punches in private. Like we're going to take this public and at least have people sympathize with either side and figure that part out. So
look at that. You were about to say something else, Dan?
Yeah. So it did happen relatively gradually, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think we originally had the idea for the show. It was probably 4 or 5 months ago. And between then and now, it was a lot of, trying to see if there were any specific parts of the identity we could come up with before we hit the mics.
Right.
Really just trying to lay the groundwork for ourselves because we have no background in this. I've been a guest on a podcast one time in my life prior to this. Mm-hmm. I've never recorded one. I've never edited one prior to this. So we were brand new, and we knew that it was going to take a little bit. It was going to take some homework before we hopped on the mics, obviously, especially knowing how much we believed in this idea and knowing that we really wanted to put the work in necessary to make it something that, people would enjoy listening to. So that led to a little bit of a gap between the idea and getting right to it. But once we did, we've been learning all along the way. We're still learning. We learned in the conversation we had before we started talking today, where you said, "Oh, timestamps while you're recording instead of just finding them in post." It's like, "Oh, Tom, we got to do that."
Yeah.
Like we're really just we're learning a lot of stuff on the fly. It's a lot of it is trial and error, but yeah, we got to the point where we had the name, we knew what we wanted the visuals to look like, and then it was just a matter of coming up with a basic formula, maybe a couple of segments, which we're starting to phase in now. Knowing how our basic topic structure was going to go, like length per topic, everything like that.
Yep.
And then we finally got to a point where we were ready to hop on the sticks about a month ago, and now we're dropping episode 4 this week, and we have a couple more in the tank that we've recorded already. And I tell Tom this every week when we hang up the call. Every week, it's palpable how better we're getting at this. Like the difference between even now and episode 1 is such, it's night and day, even between episode 1 and episode 6. So that's part of the thing that makes me really want to pursue this and do it for as long as we can, is just that growth that we're feeling every time we do it, and that contentment that we get from it.
Yeah, I really admire what you guys have pulled off. And I noticed too, as once I saw the show come on, and just reached out to Thomas right away. Hey man, I'd love to, promote you guys. Obviously I'm in the same boat, still a relatively new show, still pushing through, still so much I'm learning and adding on. And I know exactly where you're coming from. We always are better. I really believe every next show is better in keeping that consistency. Like, talk to me about that aspect too. I think, I understand the joke people say, "Oh, everybody has a podcast." I don't necessarily think that's true. I know a lot of people who try it to see, but it's not as, though it's absolutely fun and a pleasure every single time, it's not as quote unquote I think the talking part's easy, because if you just love talking to people, that's smooth. But from editing and doing copy and creating segments, as you said, it takes some time, but it's worth it. So talk to me about your planned part of keeping that consistency. I think that's the big thing we have to do to show our legitimacy, is always produce the content, and then the following comes. And like when I started the show, I had podcasts that I was on, or brought other podcasters on. And a lot of them guys already, in between the 6 months I do it, already stopped doing their shows for whatever reason, except one, the Word for Word podcast, great guy, buddies over there. Like, what do you guys think coming into this? What do you think you guys could do to help keep that consistency in creating that content?
So, Tom, I'll definitely let you talk towards the end on this one too, because I know this is a two-way street with how we do this. But honestly, one of the things I admire most about Tom, and the thing that made me want to do this podcast with him in the first place, is he's that same mix of laid back, but when it's time to get it done, put your nose down, get the work done, get it done, that I am. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I wanted to do, especially for a podcast that I believed in this much, is have somebody who I was working with it on, who was kind of just like, yeah, let's do a podcast. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I'll hop on and talk once a week. But Tom knew from the beginning that it was going to be work. I knew from the beginning that it was going to be work. And I think one of the things that's led us to be so consistent, especially early on, is we set the tone almost right away. We sat down, we had our first production meeting, and we talked about, okay, we're going to record on this day. We're going to edit on these days. We're going to release on this day. Mm-hmm. And then after we got that out of the way, we started to talk about, okay, here's a list of things that we're going to need to get done for this podcast, and building the social followings and the video content and everything. And we kind of just split off tasks from there too. So
even that happened very organically.
It
we
did.
didn't have to be like, okay, I want this, and like, oh no, well, like, you take that. And it really was just like, all right, yeah, we'll do that. That works out great. I think that plays to both our strengths. So we really just complement each other very well. And like Dan said, that we neither of us like to do things half-assed. So if we're going to do something, we're going to make it good. We're going to give it our all. Otherwise, why are you even doing it in the first place? You know, time's limited. So give it your all.
That's right.
I hear you. I hear that. And I'm glad to hear the organic part of it too. And it's important because, you know, you need to have the work ethic. And if you put the effort, that's when the show naturally goes. And that's where I think the best advice I heard is just focus on the content now. Focus on the content, and the following will come. I think a lot of people are focused on getting their views and numbers and engagement right off the bat, but you need to find your voice and find your place while creating the show. And that takes months to figure out, but it's worth those months pushing through, you know?
Matt, can I give you a sports metaphor right now?
Of course, as always.
This is how I view it. So if you ever step up to the plate and you try to hit a home run, usually you wind up striking out because you're trying too much. You're over swinging, you're dipping your shoulder, trying to get that launch angle. Usually doesn't work out well. Basically, the best thing you could do is just do your best and put the best swing on the ball that you can do. And that's really how we approach it. We just try to do our best each time and get better with every episode that we do. And yeah, there's a quote that I saw read in an interview by Post Malone. And he said, I don't try to make hits. I just try to make good music.
Yeah.
And that's when, like you said, the talent takes over. So we take that thesis and we run with it.
Yeah. And I think that's important and very mature, realizing that right away too. And like it's a pleasure hearing you guys talk together. I think that's the best thing that I got out of your first few episodes is just the chemistry. And when you have good chemistry with someone, people will find it and will stick with it. So that's why we appreciate our audience and always showing the love, because you can't do any of this without the audience. Yeah. So,
for sure.
All right. So getting that work ethic down, figuring out your schedule. Again, you can find it. The new episodes every Thursday on Spotify and soon to be other podcasting platforms and YouTube as well.
Thank you.
So I just want to also one last thing. I'm just curious from the podcasting side of this. Where do you guys distribute your show? Do you use Transistor or who do you get your RSS feed from?
We do Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout, yes. Good people over there. Shouts to Buzzsprout. All right, cool. Great. So got the production down. Just the last thing I want to ask before we switch gears and talk about some sports going on in our lives right now. But talk to me. What do you guys see in the future for your show? Where do you guys, where do you guys want to see this go and push forward? And obviously I know you guys still very new and still figuring out your grasp. But what do you guys see for the future between two gardens?
I think another way that Dan and I are both aligned, and it goes back to the work ethic thing. So this is a nice little transition, is that like we think it can go to wherever we want it to go. I think like the sky is the limit here. We have, I would say probably moving forward, we have a vision for where it can go, but we're not, completely anchored to that vision. We're kind of just like, going along for the ride right now, and we're seeing where it takes us. Kind of using a blend of like spontaneity with like where we find ourselves, the pocket that we get into, but also like kind of we're guiding it at the same time.
Yeah.
In a little bit of way, if that answers your question.
Oh, very much. It does. You have anything to add on to that, Dan?
Yeah. So like Tom said, from the beginning, we've had the sense that we're going to get out of this what we put into it. And that's one of our biggest motivators is we know that every, night we stay up late editing, or every night that we talk about something that we've been putting off for a couple of weeks, that it's going to show back up in our show, and it's gonna pay off eventually. And especially in an admittedly kind of overcrowded market like podcasting, you really have to set yourself apart, and that comes through your show, obviously, but it also comes through in how you approach things. And we just try to do everything the right way, and we know that if we keep doing that, we're gonna get this thing to where we want it to be.
And we appreciate you guys for it. Thank you, man. Just thanks for pushing. And how do you guys also feel about any challenges that may come along the way? Like, how do you guys handle adversity when it comes to any challenges producing the show?
I personally view it as, everything's a learning experience. So like I am always trying to gain different skills and learn along the way. So I view it, even if this podcast ends in 6 months, which I'm not planning on it happening or wanting it to, but even if it does, I will come out of it with, acquired skills that I could approach and use with the next endeavor that I do. So
yeah,
I would say that's pretty much where, like, meeting the adversity comes with, and overcoming those obstacles and stuff like that.
I hear that.
Dan, what about you?
Yeah, so there's obviously been a lot of challenges, especially when you're first getting off the ground, and when you have no background in it like we do, just trying to navigate the landscape of everything that goes into this. But honestly, the challenges and the adversity so far, and it's one of the things that I think has shown me that this is something that's sustainable for me and for us long term, is that I'm inspired to get over those. Like, it's not the bumps in the road aren't like discouraging because, like, oh, it's another thing between us and where we want to be.
It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And
yeah,
I mean, we had a day, it was our recording day last Monday, where I went straight from, I finished up my day job and then went straight to researching for the episode, recording the episode, working on our graphics, and then editing last week's episode. And all said and done, that was like 9 or 10 straight hours. And by the end, I didn't feel exhausted. I didn't feel discouraged. I didn't feel like, oh, I need to walk away from doing Between Two Gardens stuff for a while. I thought, like, all right, we're putting in the work here. Like, we're really putting in all those extra hours that make the difference. And I know, again, it all goes back to what we put in, we're going to get out of it. So it really hasn't been a challenge, even on the challenging days. Really hasn't.
Oh yeah, challenges are as hard as you make them. So I like to hear and love to hear that you're not being phased from it. And as I go through my challenges too, whether from booking challenges or editing or finding time with what I have to do in my life as well, it can be a lot, but I know there's a great purpose and fulfillment at the end of it, and that's why I'll forever do it. And as my production career goes, and I'll still have figured out a way to get my 2 shows in every Monday and Thursday, and it's just a pleasure. It really is so much. It's really fun, and I'm sure you both can agree how the podcasting, especially, that you do create content, you make work, but you have that special connection because of the voice aspect, because you talk with various people. It's just adds that little emotion. And then as the same with radio, an audience could feel like you're their friend to them because of how much they interact and you produce content for them. And that's what you have to remember at the end of the day, that someone's listening and you're really allowing them to be a distraction. Or sorry, you're allowing yourself and your show to be a distraction for the audience in this fucked up world we live in. I'm sure you guys agree, right?
Absolutely. And even as we have a fairly modest following right now, we're still kind of just starting out. We're trying to build. But I mean, I've listened to podcasts every day for the last 7-8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that a lot of hosts have in common is that even when they start to gain the following, they start to really see the results. They're like, every time somebody chooses to spend part of their day listening to our show or looking at our accounts, like it really, really hits. And that's something that never really sunk into me until I started doing this. Cause I was like, oh yeah, you started a podcast. You knew like you were going to have listeners eventually. Like you knew that people were going to come in and start to consume and be into you. Like it can't really be that like shaken, can it, when people just listen to your podcast? But every time we get a new follow on Instagram, every time I check the Spotify numbers or Tom updates me on the Spotify numbers and we see an uptick, or just like a dozen or so people that like choose to spend an hour of their day listening to us, it's like, it's an indescribable feeling. It really is.
Yeah. It's like every follow and every download, it's like a piece of wood that you just put on the fire and it just adds to the burn. You know,
Definitely.
it's just fueling the drive.
What a great metaphor on that one. Yeah, it makes, like I said, I start every show with the world is a better place because you are here to join us. And that's exactly what you said, why that's the case. We just appreciate everyone taking the time. And when they give us their time, we're not taking it for granted, and we're going to have some fun and talk about the crazy things in this world and have fun with it. Yeah. So I'm also just curious. We're talking about hearing podcasts for 8-9 years, as am I. I first started with radio. My first influence, the first time, growing up, Mike and the Mad Dog, as you both know, growing up in this area. I'm sure you guys pretty common, whether that your dads drove you around listening to Mike and the Mad Dog. Even as a young age, I got a vibe for it. Then in high school, it was both Mike Francesa, Chris Russo, then Howard Stern. Changed everything when I heard the long format. I remember my first time I ever took the time on a YouTube clip was Seth Rogen on Howard Stern, and my life changed. If I did not hear that interview, I would not be here. We would not be talking here. And it took 10, 11 years of listening to radio and podcasts, then you decide to do it on your own. So I was just curious, who are some of your influences to do the podcast? Who are some of the podcasters or radio hosts you listened to that helped inspire you, both of you, to do this? Was it for all? Why don't we start with Dan on that?
Sure. So obviously our format, we have some pretty obvious influences. I watch Undisputed with Skip and Shannon every morning. And that's kind of the spin we wanted to take on this. We knew we wanted to be a debate show. We knew we wanted to get into those hot arguments like they do. Again, we thought we had enough of kind of an original spin to not just be a carbon copy of those shows, but obviously we get a ton of inspiration from watching them do what they do. They're always so well researched. They really bring the passion to every conversation, every debate that they have. So they've been a huge inspiration to me in that. But in terms of podcasts, I also listen to PMT as we were talking about earlier. Their chemistry is obviously amazing. But honestly, the podcasts that I listen to are so all over the place. I don't know if I can tie them all directly into what we do, but we try to draw pieces from the people who are doing similar to what we're doing, but are doing it at the highest level. I mean, everybody in every field does that, right?
Definitely.
But that's been a big part of it for me, at least.
Cool. Well, who inspires you to create some great content, Thomas?
Definitely. So I'm a big Gary Vee guy. He definitely inspires me a lot and has shaped my thinking in a lot of ways. Discovered him in like probably sophomore year of college and was super attracted to his philosophy and stuff because it was a lot of the stuff that I already believed in or knew. So like a lot of the beliefs just aligned and it was just made sense. And so yeah, he's a big one, I would say. And then like other guys, probably just like Joe Rogan, like just what he's built there is just super inspiring and what he does. I would say those are probably the two big ones. And then Dan and I are both big Stephen A guys. So Stephen A Smith, and to kind of riff off the Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, and then Stephen A. and Max Kellerman, which is, we have those vibes on our show with the, the rivalry.
Yep.
Which is a great element, and one that like I've studied and noticed, like, well, like people tune into this show because of, the banter and because of the clips and the arguments that come out of it. And that's, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, well, we could have something with that and put our own little twist onto that concept, so for sure Stephen A. Smith is one up
and
there.
I think that's a big key. You can't have a partner podcast if you two agree on everything. I mean,
who wants to listen to that?
It's just
Exactly.
boring. It's just the most narcissistic way to go. And yeah, that's why that's what I really appreciate you guys too. That is, you have the candor, and you have to have conflict. That's where the content comes from. And as you said, my big also I said before, just my influence, Mike and the Mad Dog, and listen to them deep. I specifically put the major ones next to me here, so I always love Letterman's style. Joe and Evan, even though they're no more. We have Craig and Evan back here, which is good. Simmons, Stern, Mike and the Mad Dog, Conan and Mark Maron, and Rogan's up there too. So I know what you mean, Dan, having a lot of different podcasts on your feed, and just soaking it all in and having fun with it. So it's a great time for podcasting, and it's just keeps growing from here since everyone's on the move. So I'm so glad that it is giving people like us an opportunity to explore it and grow with it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So now let's talk about, all right, we got one final thing I have to ask before we switch and just talk about sports in general is I get the concept between two gardens, obviously New York fan, Boston sports fan coming together and, riffing on the great world of sports, coming from completely different worlds. But can you talk to me? I mean, I get where your name comes from, between two gardens, but for people who are not sure what exactly that means, talk to me about the name origin and where Between Two Gardens comes from.
Yeah. So we had a couple different names when we were off the top. We had a couple different names and art concepts. One of the before I get into the origin of why we picked that one, I'll go into some of the ones that we didn't pick. So I think our number 2 seed was Rivalry Renewed. We were going to name our podcast, just because that was I feel like every time there's something big that happens between a New York team and a Boston team, someone in the sports media says, "Oh, the rivalry's back on. The rivalry's renewed. It's reignited." So that was one that we put out there. But the reason I think Between Two Gardens worked so well is, obviously because our arenas share a name, basically. So that's an easy way to incorporate that into a title. But the aspect of Between Two Gardens, just first off, it's kind of like a nod to us both being from Connecticut, because that's literally between the two gardens. And then just the middle ground that comes between these two different corners of the universe. And as much as Tom and I disagree on almost everything, we do have a lot of common ground. Like, we have respect for a lot of the same things. We love a lot of the same things. So yeah, just the gardens being far apart, but still together, and really analyzing what's in between, what's in the middle ground. I think it is really what made it work. So it's kind of like you start peeling back the onion, the layers really start to speak for themselves. So I think it's a perfect name for us.
I think so too. Anything else to add on with that, Tom?
No, I agree with Dan on all of that. It really it does tap into the juxtaposition between the two, and also the geographical location of us living in Connecticut being between two gardens. So
yes,
yeah,
as people,
he basically hit it on the head.
Perfect. And for those who don't know, Madison Square Garden is based in New York City, where obviously Rangers and Knicks play, and TD Bank Garden is where the Bruins and Celtics play, and also the old Boston Garden.
The old Boston Garden.
Mm-hmm.
Never was allowed to see it, but hear the stories.
Yeah, I hear that. So, all right. Now we got familiar about your show. We've had fun with it. And again, don't forget to check them out on Spotify. New episodes every Thursday between two gardens. Be sure to like and subscribe to them, and soon to be other podcasts and platforms and YouTube. So let's get into sports. Let's have some banter. Let's have some fun. So why I just want to, the easiest way I think we break this down is just talking about the 4 different leagues hitting on it and hitting on our specific teams. So why don't we first hop in the NFL? Got the draft coming up in a couple weeks. Obviously, you're a New England Patriots fan, Dan, I assume.
Yep.
Well, the only New England team.
Absolutely.
Thomas, you're a New York Giants fan. Hitting on
Yes,
NFL. Obviously, we're all excited. Can't wait for the day after Labor Day, September. It's going to be a new 17-game season, so we're adding an extra week. And so we have quite the expectations of both teams. First, why don't we hit Dan, your Patriots? Obviously, they had a much different year than normal. You mentioned Tom Brady, first love with sports. First of all, when you went to Tampa, I have to ask before we even hit to your Patriots, when Tom Brady goes to Tampa, what side are you? Are you supporting Tom? Were you happy to see him win the 7th Super Bowl, not as a Patriot? Or you fuck him, he's dead to me? Which side of the coin do you fall on?
So the 2 weeks leading up to that Super Bowl and the couple days after, I was a point I was everywhere on that spectrum at some point leading up to that game. So first off, my dad, who I've gotten into football, he wasn't really into it before, but now he watches all the games with me. He's just as into it now. He was a completely Tom's dead to me. I hope Kansas City wins 76-0. Like, no, I was obviously sad to see him do it with another team, but really what built up for me leading up to that game is like the appreciation for everything he did for us and how, he gave us 3 quarterbacks lifetimes of memories and things to celebrate. And just like he made me proud to be a New Englander, like single-handedly. Like, how can I root against this guy as he goes out and spends like the bonus time of his career, getting away from the New England system, having a little bit more fun.
Gronk
it was
too.
obvious with Gronk. Yeah, I mean that part really, really sucked. Just seeing them get that chemistry back and watching Gronk catch 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Watching them be vintage Tom and Gronk again, but not in the navy blue was really tough. But where I landed with it, especially after they won, watching like Tom do a Super Bowl parade in Tampa was very, very weird. Yeah. Actually, my buddy got me a T-shirt of that famous drunk Tom picture.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the day drink uniform all summer long. But yeah, it was strange. But at the end of the day, he's my guy. He's going to be my guy forever. At the end of the day, I'm a Patriots fan. I'm not one of those Patriots fans who just went out and like bought a Bucs jersey, like straight, like completely jumped ship. I'm a Patriots fan till I die. But like, that's my man. That's all. That's the only thing I've ever known is rooting for Tom Brady. So, I mean, for all the childhood memories he gave me, I couldn't get myself to feel any ill will towards the guy. I really couldn't.
Yeah, I think that honestly requires a lot of patience, and I respect you for that. I mean, God, I hope we don't live through something like that, Tom. I've been seeing no one in my time. I guess it's when Cano left, had a bitter taste in my mouth, but looks like clearly our team clearly won that one, did the right thing. But yeah, it's I respect you.
I resent that comparison, by the way. Yeah, Robinson Cano leaving the Yankees.
Hey man,
same thing as Tom Brady leaving the Patriots.
Okay, fair enough. No, it wasn't the same level, but when you talk about someone like he was our guy, homegrown Yankee. He really was an MVP type candidate. Obviously, he's not transcended. Literally, only one World Series, not like Tom Brady 6 prior to that. That's a fair point. But that's the only time I could remember someone like leaving like that. And
the closest I could compare is, although not perfect, I would say Jeter going to the Marlins, although it's post-career, so it's a little bit different.
And they sucked.
They are both. They are, yeah, and they suck. They're not in our division. I mean, the Patriots and Bucks are about as far as apart as you could see for divisions wise as well. But like Jeter going to another team, there was not really much jealousy or anything. I mean, like, how much can you be jealous of the Marlins? But
except they did beat us in the World Series.
They did. That is true. That's a good point. That is a good point. So there should still be a little bit of animosity there, but no, when someone has dedicated that many years and brought so much to a city, to a team and a franchise, it's I don't know how, as a true fan, you can want to root against them or to not show the loyalty in some way.
Especially when he gives your team Giancarlo Stanton for free.
Yeah, that's an added bonus, Dan.
Investigate that.
See, that's why Jeter's better than Tom Brady, because Tom Brady does absolute jack shit for the Patriots now.
Oh, man. Hitting on that Patriots, though. So, Patriots didn't make the playoffs for the first time in many years. What was it? His first time since
20 years?
08, since 08 when they just missed it with Castle.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Won 11 games that year. Didn't make the playoffs. Pretty insane.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that bug. But yes, so tough season. Cam Newton comes in. I think record he was out because of COVID, but expectations were not met as per usual. But now we've seen your boy Bill Belichick had one of the most insanely active off seasons ever. I mean, bringing so many guys, especially on the defense side of the ball. And now you have the 15th pick. You have the 15th pick in the first round. So I have to ask you, Dan, where are the Patriots going, you think? Are they drafting a quarterback? Are they drafting getting help on that offensive line? Is Cam Newton, though he was re-signed, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be starting quarterback? Where do you think they should go during this draft?
What I think is going to happen is I think we're going to see the Patriots are going to take a quarterback in the first round. Mm-hmm. And they're either going to take a quarterback at 15 or they might consider trading up for one of the marquee guys to just really, really complete this offense and say, we're going all in right now. What I think is going to happen, I think Bill is going to take his chances and say, we're still taking a first round QB, even though, all the big hype guys are going to be off the table. Mm-hmm. And I think the plan for this coming year is have that rookie sit under the tutelage of Cam for a while, a guy who's been there, a guy who's played in a Super Bowl, a guy who's led a team to an almost perfect season, a former MVP,
a guy who has route. The Kansas City
exactly. Model. Yep. A guy that, is obviously not at the top of his game at this point, but could have a lot in a mentorship type role. Mm-hmm. And then, if he's not the guy, I think with all the weapons we added to the offense, I think even if Cam is under center, that's still a playoff team. So I think we're going to draft a quarterback, but honestly, no matter where this team decides to go in terms of who they're going to be under center, I think we're going to be right there with the Bills fighting to be on top of the East once again.
Yeah, you pretty much hit what I was going to ask. Where now with that, your expectations now, obviously the big thing, the Buffalo Bills, just a game away from the Super Bowl, making the AFC Championship and making strides beforehand and add a little bit to their roster as well. You think that this is time? Do you also feel like, Bill Belichick seeing Tom Brady win a Super Bowl without him? Is he just out for blood even at his, later years in his late 60s? Do you feel that he's not going to retire until he wins that big Super Bowl once and for all?
Yeah. So as we've seen already, Tom went down, won that Super Bowl, and Bill just instantly turned into the Michael Jordan, I took that personally meme.
Yes.
Just right away. And I told Tom this. Our first episode was breaking down that Super Bowl. And we were talking about what it meant for the future of the Patriots and for the future of Tom. And I said, it's going to take a while because Bill's rebuttal is in a coaching and a GM position. He's going to need time to rebuild this team, but he's going to have his answer. Tom went into a pre-built championship contender and got results immediately because he was joining such a stacked roster and putting them over the top by giving them competent quarterback play for the first time in who knows how long.
Yeah.
But I said right then and there, before the Pats even made these free agency moves, I said, it's going to take a while, but you're going to hear an answer from Bill before he hangs him up. And it's happening even faster than I even anticipated. I thought we had another year or two of rebuild ahead of us before we really got to Bill's vision for the post Brady Pats.
Yeah, that I feel that, you know, there was a time, you know, you hear these rumors that he's ready, he's getting settled in Nantucket, you know, after the whole mess,
diving off boats.
Yeah. But I mean, after the, you know, losing to Tennessee a couple of years ago, the final game of Brady, and then I mean, it's giving him extra years. Honestly, it's fun to watch, and you know, you are playing the Bucks this season, where they're bringing all 22 of their starters. We're still waiting for the schedules to come out, but I'm sure that's going to be is that the most anticipated game next to Super Bowls in your lifetime for you, especially the fact that you have every single starter coming back.
Yep, every single starting coming back. It's going to be at Gillette, which adds at Gillette at a hopefully full Gillette by then.
Right.
Hope definitely will be some fans in the stands, so you'll have the atmosphere. But I would love to have a fully packed Gillette Stadium for that homecoming, because man, thinking about what that crowd is going to look like. If, like, let's say Gilmore gets burned on a route and Tom throws a 60-yard touchdown pass to put the Bucks ahead, like, what is that crowd going to sound like?
I am curious.
It's something that I definitely don't even know the answer to, but it's anxiety inducing at the same time, thinking about what my mental state watching that game is going to be, what every Patriots fan mental state is going to be going into that game. I think it's going to be like the Bucs Super Bowl. I'm not going to really know until the day of, but yeah, it's definitely the one you circle on the calendar. No question about it.
Fair enough. And Thomas, quickly hitting on our Giants. So we also had quite an active offseason ourselves, not as much as the Patriots, but, you know, adding huge weapons. You know, Kyle Rudolph's on the squad now. Kenny Galladay, big win, getting that big push for Daniel Jones. And it seems he probably is the one quarterback who has the most to prove, because we have another bad season. It seems that it's time to move on from Daniel Jones. We have a returning Saquon as well, and we have the 8th pick. Some people think, well, Gettleman be crazy. He did draft a running back 2nd overall. Now, this is a very deep wide receiver draft, and we need those weapons still. Is Gettleman gonna do the beat out the Norman? Is he gonna draft a wide receiver very high? What are your thoughts for the draft? Do you think it's time for the Giants, and where the Eagles took a step backwards, it seems, the offseason? The Cowboys, at first it seemed, but Dak is coming back. And then the Washington football team seems like they are rebuilding. What do you expect for the Giants after exceeding expectations after such a horrendous start last year?
Yeah, so I'll get into all that first. Matt, you're talking about all the weapons that the Giants have added, and the first name out of your mouth is Kyle Rudolph.
Hey, man, he has not dropped a ball in 2 seasons.
He's probably hasn't had over 50 yards in the last 2 seasons either.
Hey, man, we saw how bad dropping the ball for Evan Ingram, but, you know, fair point there.
True.
But I mean, obviously the big one is Kenny Galladay, who's also had injury issues, but hopefully this is the new change of scenery. Hopefully we'll just blame the air of Detroit on that one. And your bottom line, the Rapids are key most of all, because we extremely lacked with that. But you think Daniel Jones in his last chance, his last life, do you think he's gonna overcome it? Eli Manning took a while to start the game. They were patient with him, or is he gonna wind up like his old counterpart, Sam Darnold, be shipped elsewhere?
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in Daniel Jones. I think he's got a lot left to show, and I think a lot of the potential he can unlock with having Galladay as a number one target, probably the most talented receiver he's gotten the chance to play with in his career so far, or will get the chance to play with. And I think it also comes from the draft, like you prompted me to. So I think Gettleman, I would be very shocked if Gettleman goes out and gets another wide receiver. I don't see the need really. We have now Galladay on the outside, Slayton on the other side. So you got the outside solidified. Shepard on the inside with Ingram, and you also got Kyle Rudolph now for blocking and just another depth piece there. And then Saquon in the backfield. I don't think the offense needs much more outside of blocking. Yes. All those weapons are great, but if you don't have any time to throw, those weapons are spoiled. So I think the number one priority is protecting Daniel Jones, as it should be for every time you draft a quarterback. You should be drafting his protection along with it, if you don't already have it. One of the reasons, not the only reason, but for guys like Brady that can last so long, is that they're not knocked on the ground very often, and they have time to throw, and it's just a big deal when your quarterback is not running for his life all the time. It not only shows in their longevity, but also in their production and performances. So yes, I'm hoping for a stud O-lineman to be drafted. And Gettleman has shown the trend in recent years of drafting a O-lineman, making that a priority, as well as defense, which I think we needed to make a priority years ago when Eli was still here. But no, we'd rather draft undersized tight ends that drop game-winning passes. But anyway, Evan Ingram.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping for an O-lineman.
Yeah, whether people think like Landon Dickerson for Bama, or you have Rashawn Slater for Northwestern, could be some big picks, or the guy from USC, Elijah Vera Tucker, I think. Some other guys projected. We do have a returning Nate Soldier coming back. Andrew Thomas, at first we thought was going to be the next Eric Flowers, but he did step up towards the end of the season, and can't forget Pert either. Yeah, like I said, we need another guard, or whether guard or tackle, one lineman. And even though we've done the same old song and dance plenty of times, it's time to get back with it. And what I want to think, Dan, what do you think of fellow Dan and Daniel Jones? How do you feel about it? Have you been enjoying it? Have you been like, oh, maybe he is the real deal? It's only taken him 3 years for that. What are your thoughts of Daniel Jones?
I have a very strange, large soft spot for Daniel Jones.
Really?
Admittedly, it kind of came from a place of cynicism, because as soon as they drafted him, I got such a kick out of Giants fans squirming over this dorky looking kid that was going to take over for them at quarterback. So like, I instantly liked him. I like, all right, yo, Danny Dimes, let's go get it. And then since then, I read an article. I think it was, I don't know if you guys will know what I'm talking about, but there was some game-winning drive that he was going on in like the first 4 or 5 weeks of his career. And apparently the dude just turns into an animal in the huddle when like the game's on the line. Like he just absolutely sees red and like goes into full like Tom Brady mode when the chips are down. And ever since I heard that, I'm like, all right, just this dweeby looking kid who's taken over for the Giants that apparently just like turns into a beast when oh, I'm sorry, when it all comes down to it. I've loved Daniel Jones pretty much all along.
All right, interesting. I did not expect that answer, and I like a pleasant surprise for that. So my last thing, football. We're gonna talk about this for each sports, but I'm gonna ask you guys, since you are opposite sides, Thomas, which football player, New England Patriot player, do you hate the most? Obviously, sports hate, but and then we'll obviously ask Dan, who does he hate the most? But first, Thomas, which Patriot football player throughout the years do you hate the most?
All time.
Yeah, all time. These are all time.
Oh, I got to think about that one. There's probably a few.
Well, Thomas decides, do you have an answer already?
Yeah, Dan, do you have one?
And we're going to do this for the other 3 major league sports as well. So keep that in mind too.
Pure hate for the New York Giants.
I mean, look, those 2 Super Bowl wins. One of the greatest moments of youth. Anyone on those teams? Do you hate Eli?
So even though I like him a lot as a guy, and he's like done a lot of really good things, like after his career,
yeah,
I think if I had to point to the one guy that embodies all of my Giant soreness from over the years, it's probably Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan.
Just he embodies like he just embodies like the thorn in the side that ruined the perfect season. And like he's obviously the most likable guy on the planet. But like I don't know, just like between the tooth gap and like how outspoken he is about everything, it's just like I don't know, every time I see him I feel like that knife just twists a little bit. So I think that's my answer. That
image of him flexing on his last sack of his career right there. Anger on his ring. What do you have to say, Thomas? Which Patriot of all time you hate the most? Obviously sports hate is when we're bringing these.
I would say probably, I don't know why, it's probably just the vibes I've got from him, but of most recent, probably Kyle Van Noy. I don't know why. He just kind of is too.
He's back.
He's kind of just obnoxious to me for some reason. Maybe it's because of how good he is. Like, I don't know. He just kind of sticks in my craw a little bit.
Look at that.
I get it. Like, honestly, I love him. I love how like ostentatious he is with all of it. And I love that he's back. But honest to God, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. And we have a very exciting NFL season to look forward to. Now let's change the F to an H, the NHL. So obviously this is a new unique year for our hockey league, for our NHL. Obviously you have the Canadian League and the League in America, and then a lot of teams are only playing their regions. And while the Rangers, it's hard to describe where they're at. Obviously the deadline came up and a lot of people thought they'd be sellers, but with people like Alexis Lafreniere coming in and, still figuring out you're rebuilding, or you're going to start from the ground up, that's where the Rangers are at. And literally the next team in the standings is the Bruins as well. More veteran team, still trying to all go off the coattails when they went to the Cup a few years ago, losing to St. Louis.
Still licking the wounds from that. They are.
Tell me, Thomas, where do you see you rocking the Rangers? Do you think they have a chance to make the playoffs, in this weird playoff system they're doing? Do you think there's any hope for them? I know a lot of it's been a weird year. You had the Panarin issues going on, but he came back. So lots of distractions taking place. But how do you feel about your Rangers? Do you feel there's any hope for them to sneak in the playoffs? Do you think they should have been more sellers as the deadline approached? How are you feeling about the boys in blue?
No, I think they handled the deadline well. I think the no moves was a good move for them. Mm-hmm. They're adding from within with their brought over Kravtsov from the KHL, and signed Zach Jones, who just won a national championship with UMass. Kretzoff being a winger who's already made a pretty good impact. He's been up on the top line a little bit. And then Zach Jones, who looks like he could be a really nice third pairing guy to start right now, and sky's the limit. So definitely a lot of optimism with the Rangers this season. Specifically, I would say, yeah, we have a shot at the playoffs. Definitely. Definitely cautiously optimistic. We not only have to get pretty hot down the stretch, but we also need a little bit of help from teams losing up top, most notably the Bruins. And the end of the year is going to be very, very interesting with the race between the Bruins and the Rangers. So really looking forward to that. And while I'm optimistic about making the playoffs with this young team, I'm even more optimistic about the future, because this team is set up extremely well for the next 5+ years. So a lot to be excited about as a Ranger fan right now.
All right. And how about you, Dan? The team right above it is your Bruins. You know, they've had some ugly losses this season, but still keeping afloat as well. How you feeling about your Bruins?
So before the deadline, the decline we've been seeing from the Bruins was really, really discouraging, because the problems we were seeing from the Bruins are really what kills cup contender teams. Like, when it comes down to it, we were having defensive problems. Our biggest problem, which we addressed at the deadline, thank God, was the depth scoring, which the teams that go on and win cups know that you can't do it with one line. You know, like, you need to be productive with those second and third lines. You need them to get clutch goals here and there. But honestly, if I had to pick one realistic trade deadline piece for the Bruins to add, it would have been Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall he gives the second line an identity that it's been lacking for most of the season. I know Krejci's been on the up and up. He's been climbing out of his rut a little bit, but Hall really embodies the spirit of the Bruins outside of the perfection line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as the season goes on, and especially as our defense gets healthy, as you know, our starters heal up, as Tuukka heals up, as Yarrow heals up, those holes are going to start to fill in as well. And when our defense gets back to what we know it can be, I think that depth scoring is going to shine even brighter. And we addressed our biggest weakness, and this was a cup contender team to begin with. So it's another season of bring home the cup or it's a bust for the Bruins.
Do you think Hall is more than a rental?
I would love to see him stay for another couple of seasons after this. I know it's going to be a decent amount of money to get him to stay. But I think with the team that we're going to have around him and the time left to go in this season, we're going to have enough info on Taylor Hall to say, all right, is this the guy we want to anchor the second line for the next 2, 3, 4 years until, you know, the Bergeron Marchand window closes, which is, 4 or 5 years away. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would love to see him stay. Taylor Hall's been he's been in my upper echelon of players that I like for a long time now. And he looks really good in black and gold. So I would love to see him stick around if he can be productive and he can be a good fit with this team, which he already appears to be.
Yeah. And like you said, it's been fun, and it's been tough seeing against some tough losses, but really bouncing back ever since then. So congrats on the deadline there. Now let's do it again. Dan, tell me which Ranger you hate the most.
Oh, it's Sean Avery. It's not even close. It's not even close. I will hate that scumbag until I am cold in my grave. Like, it's one thing to be an asshole and just like get the other guy going if you can back it up. Like, Marchand is a great example of a guy who goes out and will get in your head and go down and do the dirty stuff. But at the end of the day, he's a filthy player that will go and dangle you into next week. Sean Avery was just a douchebag for the sake of being a douchebag.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Avery could score, bro.
Waving that stick.
Avery could score.
He wasn't nearly the player that he needed to be to justify all that nonsense, especially going after the greatest goalie to ever put on pads for no reason.
Those were in all-time chirps, though. And, oh, my God, dude. The way he went up with him and he brought in Brodor's history with his wife's
sister.
Yeah. No, his wife's brother's fiance or wife.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And he brought that into it, and he just face guarded Brodeur, and then now they have the Avery rule. Like, come on, like that's
backward screen. Oh my lord!
Like you literally cannot do that in hockey no longer because of Sean Avery.
Did it. Yeah,
it's insane.
I hate that too.
And then he scored a goal right after doing it.
Literally he was boxing out the goalie in that famous scene.
But like with the glasses and everything, like fucking shut up, Sean Avery.
I could totally see why people would hate him, but for me, it's not even a question. It's Brad Marchand, and I would say Chara close second, just because he's just so much bigger than everyone, and like you can't even fight him because he's just huge and he just knows it. So like I hate that, but I've been waiting for the day that someone just rocks Chara, but I that day's probably not going to come anytime soon. Although I would love to see Keandre Miller throw down with him. I think they would go toe to toe pretty well. Keandre's a big dude.
Yeah.
Chara would still put him in a body bag though.
Probably, dude. He's got that reach.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, 6'7", doing this all on skates too?
Chara, I think Chara went on skates is like over 7 foot.
Oh, exactly. Well, I mean, see,
I'm pretty sure he's up there. He's like 7 foot.
Now that he's old too, skates. Like he's got the dad strength. Like Chara is more unstoppable than ever.
Was it tough for you to see him go to the Capitals?
Definitely, but at the same time, as someone who watched the Bruins almost every night for most of Chara's career, some of the plays that he was making, just how slow he was, it was almost tough to watch. Just the degradation of Chara's speed and his finesse. I mean, he's never had speed. He's always been a huge guy, but just not even being able to keep up with the speed of like an average speed, like 2-on-2 rush from another team, like just getting burnt on everyday plays. But especially for the price that the Capitals got him, less than $1 million.
Yeah,
that's worth it alone for the locker room presence and the leadership. So I don't know what the front office was thinking, letting him walk, especially seeing what his market was. But it was tough. Not as tough as the other departures we've had in recent years, but
I think it was more so Chara. He didn't want a reduced role with the Bruins, so he was like, "All right, I'm leaving," because he wants to play consistent minutes, and so I think it was more on Chara's end. I think the Bruins would have been happy to sign him to $1 million deal for a year.
Might as well. And by the way, according to this, the height at least is 6'9", but you might be right. Plus skates.
On skates, I think he's like 7 foot.
Jeez. Well, some people got the juice there. So. All right. Switching from hockey to basketball. The NBA, again, it has been quite the year. You know, the Celtics, I have to say it seems that the Celtics, though still up there and still pushing, but, making a deep run in the bubble. And, it's another year adding on with people like Brown and Tatum. It's kind of, I don't want to say they're only 3 games above 500. I think it's a little premature to say, be a low expectation because there's still a lot of season left, but it's been different, I'm sure, than you expected, Dan, and very different for you, Thomas. I mean, the Rangers being around 500 really has been a blessing and fun. At the moment, we are in the play-in tournament, ranked 8th in the East, and Celtics are 5th. But let's get this back to Dan. Like, Dan, how do you feel about your Celtics in a different? I'm sure your things are different than you expected at this point in the season.
there just always seems to be a missing link with the Celtics. I don't know what it is. And this year is the year that I really thought that was going to change, because while we have some holes in the roster for sure, but this was going to be the year that no more excuses, no more he's too young. This is the year that it became Tatum and Jalen's team. This is the year that they were really going to go in and step into those leadership roles and start dropping, all the points and the assists that they need to really, really jumpstart this team. And there have been some positives on that front. Like, I think Tatum is taking to the leadership role very, very well, but I think there's some talent limitations. I think the Celtics are capable of getting back to at least the East Final. I think it's within that locker room to get there. But again, I don't know what it is. Maybe I just don't know the game well enough, but there always just seems to be a missing link with the Celtics.
No, I think that's quite accurate. And obviously losing Gordon Hayward, but you have Kimba now, and a tough loss. But yeah, a quiet draft for them. You'd think they would add that one more big spot, but I don't know.
I don't know how you go through the East Final last year and say we don't need a big. Literally, that series was even competitive, let alone losing it, because Bam and Jimmy could just do whatever they wanted up the gut,
right?
And we had no answers for it. And as you look around the league, like our biggest competition, you have Miami coming back. You have probably going to have to go toe-to-toe with Giannis at some point to get back to that East Final. I don't know how you don't address that need.
And obviously
the league is
Brooklyn
clearly
too.
shifting in that direction.
And look what Brooklyn did. Brooklyn had
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan, and they went out and got Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, you're telling me the Celtics couldn't have used one of those guys? Or Drummond?
I don't know.
Even
what about Boogie? Boogie's still sitting out there, right? He hasn't been signed by anybody. You guys aren't.
He just got signed by the Clippers.
Oh, he did. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Oh, well, damn, Dan, you gotta get the GM
Daniel.
on the phone.
I know. I'm not even saying like I'm blaming them for not seeing the writing on the wall. Like, it's here. It happened. Like, your team clearly has a weakness that is costing you games that you would otherwise win with your excellent perimeter shooting, and you just don't go out and do it. It boggles my mind, especially seeing this happen with the Bruins, which they did address it finally. But seeing that you have this core that has so much potential, knowing that their windows aren't going to last forever, looking at it objectively, that there's one or two moves you can make that will fulfill the rest of it and make everything else worth it, and you just don't do it. It's never made sense to me, and it never will, honestly.
How much more patience do you have for this team? Do you think if they don't make a run, is it time to reevaluate things? Did Brad Stevens, no one had more momentum when he went from Purdue to the Celtics and making, again, deep runs, but not getting that finals appearance. How much more patience do you have, Dan, for your Celtics?
I watched the 2020 Red Sox. I got all the patience in the world. Wow.
Oh, man. Well, fair enough. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it either. They kept Spoelstra during a rebuild, and look what they're doing. So
I mean,
maybe
Tatum and Brown are the core moving forward, and they're 24 and 23 respectively. So
yep. I mean, yeah, there's time.
They're babies,
right?
So I don't know. I'm not the Boston guy, but I don't think Boston fans should be wanting to blow anything up right now anytime soon. They'll find it.
No, definitely don't blow it up. There's way too much potential on this team. But I mean, to answer your question, I've never been a fire Brad guy. I still think he's a genius. I think he's one of the best coaches to ever do it. But yeah, some of his decisions are so uncharacteristic. It's confusing. It's another thing where like there's a missing link that I can't put my finger on, and it's strange. Really is.
Unbelievable. But Thomas, you have to be thrilled with what the Knicks have been pulling off as soon as Thibodeau took over. I mean, like I said, you do want him to make that push. There was a point, I think they were as high as 4th in the East. And,
Yep.
you know, still a lot of games left. We still about a month to go on a 3-game winning streak. Play in New Orleans as we speak. But, dude, talk to me how you feel about this Knicks and how much joy you're bringing in. Do you think that they could secure a playoff spot?
Yeah, it's been really fun this year with the Knicks. It's something I haven't really gotten my entire lifetime as a Knicks fan. So it's very refreshing. Even getting a top 3 pick last year where we took RJ Barrett, there was still bitters about it by missing out on a Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. So there was, even when we get a top 3 pick, there was still resentment and what if there. But RJ's really turned into a pretty good player.
Yeah, that shot, what the T-Wolves gave to him must have changed everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's been really good. It has definitely surpassed expectations for people. If you're saying he hasn't surpassed your expectations, you're either a liar or the leader of the RJ Barrett fan club, because I don't think anyone expected him to be at this level right now. So he's been a pleasant surprise. Quickly has been amazing. And another guy who came out of nowhere that nobody really expected. Everyone was talking about Obi Toppin coming into this year because he was, the first guy we took from the last draft. But it's really been Quickly who cemented himself and has been a great contributor to this team. So it's fun just having competitive basketball as a Knicks fan. It's like, I'll take it.
Absolutely, man. And, the core we're building. And another thing, talk about trade deadlines, not making a move probably is right for the long run. And, you have Quick, who could be a legit point guard, still extremely young, but man, that shot is just beautiful to see. And he leaves driving, and then having veteran presence like D Rose and Taj Gibson helping us too. And obviously Julius Randle turning into a star in his own right has been such a ride.
Didn't even touch on him, but yeah, I mean, he's having an all-time career year for himself. So it's very exciting. And I would love to see a potential, even if we get swept, New York, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Playoff series. I think that would be amazing to see.
And
go ahead.
I was saying the big thing once and for all is proving that this team is legit, and we can finally get those free agents to come in the New York spotlight. And I don't know about you, good kudos to Brooklyn, what they are pulling off. I mean, talk about if they do not win specifically this year, boy, that's going to be quite an experience for them. But we got to, but I mean, Knicks fandom, despite all the people who have come through for, to Brooklyn, it's cool to see that I feel like New York in general in this area is still pro Knicks, so happy to see what they're pulled off. And I think that's going to be the most valuable championship, even a slightly little bit than the Yankees, only because Yankees have won so much. Knicks haven't won since 73. A lot of things have happened since then. And if the Knicks get pulled off, it's going to be a special day whenever that comes. Yeah. So let's go with it. Thomas, which Celtic you hate the most of all time?
Paul Pierce.
He's had quite the couple of weeks. Paul Pierce. Why Paul Pierce?
Largely from his and I don't know if it's just him being a marketer and trying to get clicks and virality, but just all the ridiculous stuff that he says when he's like, "Oh, I'm better than Kobe," and just all the nonsense that he just spews. Just very like Skip Bayless-esque, where it's just like, all right, it's almost blatantly obvious that you're just saying this to either counter a point or to get people to be like, what are you talking about, and share it with everyone because of how ridiculous it is. So that part is just like, I can't take the dude seriously with his takes.
Fair enough, man. And Wasn't socially distancing in that video we saw.
That too. Although that video was epic.
What did you think?
That.
What did you think of that, Dan? I'm sure you were a Paul Pierce fan, and at some point,
Legend. That's my only statement on the Paul Pierce video.
I have to say, Dan, I don't think there's a lot of Knicks to hate on, but if there is, who would that be?
I was literally just gonna say that if you came to me for a least favorite Knick, I'm like, but I did come up with an answer, despite the Knicks being on my radar for 0 seconds of my life total.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite Knick of all time is Stephon Marbury, because
I knew you were going to say Stephon Marbury.
Marbury.
Those shoes were an absolute disgrace.
Oh,
the Starberries.
Blasphemy.
There is going to be at some point in this decade that Complex is putting that Starberry, that the Complex or the sneakerheads are going to make that popular again.
There's a reason they were $14. That's all I'll say.
People going crazy on the internet
for disadvantaged youth, Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaq did that, and they were nice shoes. Marbury. You don't have to make the worst shoes ever just because they're cheap, Tom.
Yeah, but he didn't have Shaq money.
Oh,
that's true. Shaq put his shoes in Payless.
He's not saving. He's not buying engagement rings for someone.
Oh, that was... Dude, all right, let's talk about that video. That guy was the least excited human being I've ever seen in my life. That guy was just... Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you.
No,
thank you.
I mean, that money you're saved tens of thousands of dollars. You got to pocket that now.
That guy was not that. I hope for his sake and for Shaq's sake, I hope off camera, like that was just like the end of it. And the
you got it
was like, I want to buy your engagement ring. And the guy was like, oh. But for the part of the video that we saw was awful.
Oh man, what? Hey, Shaq can always get us talking, but you cannot hate that guy. That guy really is a joy. But
one of the more likable people on the planet for sure.
Absolutely. So let's get into baseball. Oh, this is gonna be fun. What a time it has been. What a couple of decades it has been for our two franchises. Red Sox fan, Yankee fan here together. First, my first thing we're going to talk about. Who won the fight, Tyler Austin or Joe Kelly?
Oh, Joe Kelly fucking smoked him.
Yeah, but you see, he was unfairly tripped out there. It was hard to get those right hooks in. I'm just saying, look at the tape.
Tyler Austin had all the momentum to run 60 feet 6 inches from that batter's box. Joe Kelly stood there stationary, waved him on.
He did.
And Tyler Austin didn't land one shot.
I know, but he was tripped in that video. I'm just saying, before he could get that in.
That was not even close. I can't even believe you asked that question, Matt. I can't even believe that.
I have to say, like, Joe Kelly is pretty undefeated in encounters like that. Between that, the frown to the Astros, everything, like,
it all came together.
He really is a GOAT. Like he's a legend for all that.
I miss him.
Oh, how about
basically like the non-baseball? He's undefeated in all that antics.
How about A-Rod and Veritek? Veritek didn't take that mask off. I would say that's a bitch move in baseball. If you're gonna fight, you gotta throw the mask off. Then A-Rod puts him in the headlock. But yet Tanya Sturts got hit by Gabe Catler. And
just look at the photo. This the most famous photo in baseball history.
The one of A-Rod putting him in a headlock?
No, the one of Veritek smushing his face into his skull.
There's also that one that you could also put that headlock photo in too.
Was that the same fight where Pedro fucking bodied Don Zimmer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was the year. It was the year before that one.
Oh, that was the year before?
Yeah, ALCS.
All right, you talk about an ass whooping. Just it's like not a fair fight to begin with.
He's 72
Don
years
Zimmer
old.
is a World War II veteran.
Don Zimmer came at Pedro.
I don't care. You say, "Sit down, young man. Thank you for your service." Like,
right.
Okay. Oh my God. Listen.
What damage is Don Zimmer gonna do to Pedro? What?
Listen, Don Zimmer comes at Pedro. Pedro doesn't punch him in the face. Pedro doesn't shove him over. Don Zimmer tries to tackle Pedro Martinez. Pedro just goes.
Yeah, and gives him a traumatic brain injury and rolls over into the Fenway dugout almost. Like,
This was
Not
over
100% Don Zimmer's fault, 200% Don Zimmer's fault.
Don Zimmer
0.0
completely initiated it. Completely.
zero to do with Pedro.
But like Pedro could have done that. Like
he basically did. He did a little
moved.
arm work.
Yeah.
But he swim moved and like he could have just been like, yo, Don, like you're not as fast as you used to be. Like leave me alone. Like,
Can you imagine if Twitter was around? I think Pedro would have been canceled.
Oh, he
You
probably
throw
would
a
have
72-year-old man to the
been.
ground.
He probably would.
Yeah, that would have broke Twitter probably.
Oh man. And that fight over Clemens threw not up and in, he just threw up, and then Manny walked up was pissed. And then you had the Creep Garcia sliding at Todd Walker. He actually did hit him. I'm sure you've seen the John Boy video. It's a good watch. And John Boy said Pedro said that he said 99% of the people I hit was on purpose. I have to say, as much as I hate your Red Sox, Pedro really is a character that it's hard to hate on him. And he was one of the greatest to ever do it too. So
are you guys holding out on him being the greatest pitcher of all time, or is that just a universal fact?
Pedro?
My opinion isn't solidified yet, but
yeah, I still have
I need to dive in a little bit more.
Tom's like, my opinion isn't solidified until Garrett Cole retires because he's.
I mean,
God.
Best Pedro is up there, but if you were going with the Sandy Koufaxes of the world and the
Nolan
Ryan, if we're going there. But he definitely I won't be fair, he is up there, top 10 for sure. But never forget, top of the 8th or bottom of the 8th, 03, game 7. But I understand then the next disastrous year for us.
Yeah, and then you decide that home run is enough to hire him as a goddamn manager.
Hey, man, Booney, we trust.
The only qualification Aaron Boone had for that job is he hit one home run 15 years prior.
Hey, man, but what about his ESPN work? And I mean, 100 wins in 162 game seasons. He's had over 100 wins twice. And, I really can't remember the number for the 60 game season. Do you remember, Tom? By any chance?
Off the top of my head, no. But they had a good record.
I don't know why I'm even convincing you guys, though.
They won the
Yankee
division.
fans hate Boone, too.
I'm not the biggest Boone guy. But, I mean, Dan, he was also qualified just for basically Cashman to run the team with him as being the puppet. But
exactly.
That was the other qualification he had. But, yeah, I'm not the biggest Aaron Boone fan. And I think
really, why is that, Tom? Just wondering.
Just for a lot of the reasons that we've kind of alluded to now, there's just something about him that doesn't do it for me. I love how much he stands up for his players and all that, but these teams have just lacked something.
And we keep them the very same.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they're progressing and they're taking steps forward. So I don't know. I think there might be a need for. I think if they have a disappointing year this year, I think Boone definitely his job needs to be taken into consideration here and be like, hey, what are we doing with these guys moving forward?
Fair point, Tom. Fair point. And I mean, this is the last year for everything. Patience is done after this. We're now pushing 5 years with this baby Bombers. I mean, the last 4 seasons in a row. Heartbreaking playoff losses. That it's been a dark turn, even though 2 of them was cheating teams. And I have to give your stupid Red Sox 2018-108 team credit. They were just a straight up better team. But yeah, Tom. Right now, Yankees are in last as of this moment, which is annoying. I reckon it is early April, and I believe Yankees are going to do what they normally do. Like they'll win in May, like 23 of 25 or something. The next, or they'll just go on this insane streak, get that 100 wins, and then it's all up in the air from there. But how do you feel, Tom? Are you in panic mode yet? Some people are in panic mode. What do you think?
I'm fidgeting in my seat.
Mm.
I will say that. I'm not jumping off ship, but I'm getting antsy. I will say. And it's still very, very early, but and the hitting will come. This lineup is just too good to not hit. But and it's funny because the hitting is the problem now, and it's not so much the pitching, but I really think that's going to correct itself. I think the hitting is going to come, and then the pitching is really going to show itself. So I'm a little uneasy. I still think we could win this division, but the bats need to wake up. That's for sure. And we need to go out and get a pitcher in some way.
Yeah, we need to have
guys step up.
And our pitchers need to go way deeper as well. I mean, I heard the start of the game while I was watching the game today, and Michael K said, yeah, it was like the starting pitching ERA is above 6 for everyone except Cole, who was at like 1.5 in the first few weeks. I mean, you're right. While we have new pitchers, we also have the two big additions are pitchers who, weren't pitching last year. They obviously have their potential when they hit everything on peak. They are they're Cy Young Award winner. One's a Cy Young Award winner, and one's just very talented. Was the best for Pittsburgh at this time. We missed it to no more Tanaka. I mean, we did do the right thing with Pax to get rid of him because he's in getting Tommy John, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But who do you think, whether it's from teams that we're probably looking at or sellers, who would you like to see picked up from the starter rotation? Do you think maybe get another lefty southpaw in there, which we don't have as a starting pitcher? That is it just putting Devi Garcia back up? Is it giving more patience to Domingo Germán? Where do you see is the solution for our rotation?
Honestly, I don't even know who will be available off the top of my head.
Yeah, a lot could change
going into trade deadline. Yeah, I think it's still a little too early to figure that out. But definitely, I don't think you have much to lose by giving Devi a few starts here and there. And when he gets healthy, Clark Schmidt, I love this guy, Clark Schmidt. I think he could be really good. He's one of the Yankees' top pitching prospects. He's pitched extremely well in the games that they played last year, the inter-squad games, and just watching some of his film, and he's got good stuff. So I would love to see him potentially blossom into like a number 2 behind Cole. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
Solid.
And I don't know. I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon, but missing Severino is big. Mm-hmm. Like people forget because he hasn't pitched in basically 2 years, but Severino is a top pitcher in baseball when he's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like getting him back would be awesome, but that's probably looking more so for next year.
That could be the secret sauce, man. That could be the secret sauce. And
hopefully.
Also, how do you feel about Gleyber? It seems that for initial that we always worry about his defense, and we have not seen anything to be comfortable with yet. Obviously, they got
Sorry, I don't like Gleyber at short. I don't. I think he's a great second baseman, shortstop. He makes me very uneasy.
Now, do you think we should, if a team, our sellers, is it time to get that big shortstop? Looks like the Rockies are going to be god awful. Is it maybe we should try to get Trevor Story in there?
It would be interesting, but the Yankees infield is so crowded to begin with,
and adding Rudolph Odor too.
And well, I mean, Odor he'd be the guy on the bench, but like, so you get Story, right. Okay, so then Gleyber goes to second, or LeMahieu stays at second. Like one of those two guys either has to DH or LeMahieu has to go to first.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then Voit, I guess, DHs when he's back. But then what
it's
happens
also
with Stanton
confusing.
and like it's like whack-a-mole. Like you plug one guy in and then one guy pops out, and you like they don't have that perfect mix of positions within the lineup, and it's tough. I don't know. It is really tough.
Yeah, I guess this, a lot of the things we're talking about will just get fixed through time, and really May, June, we could really freak out. But I'm just curious, Tom, how do you feel about Yankees re-signing Brett Garter? Do you think it was, we have this extra outfielder now? I mean, he made some cool plays when he's played, but
Mixed emotions. Do I like Brett Gardner as a depth piece? Yeah, he's a solid bench guy to have, to be able to go in there and have left-handed at bats and semi-productive to above average at bats. But knowing Boone, that's never what was going to happen. Like he's already, and Clint hasn't hit well, but he's already taking at bats away from Clint Frazier. And like Clint Frazier is basically, he's like a metaphor for him. He's a grown man, but is still viewed as a kid, because I mean, all these guys are grown men, but he's like a rookie, and he's like 28, 29 years old because he's never gotten a chance. And he was a top prospect in baseball.
Yeah, like big
when we
deal.
got him in the deal. So like, it's unfathomable to me that a top prospect in baseball hasn't even really got a consistent shot yet.
Right.
And he has shown in the limited time that he's had that he can hit. He had 12 homers one year where he played like a quarter of the season. Like that's a 30 homer year.
Right.
Play the kid.
That's the thing.
Let him
Tom.
struggle. Like,
listen,
everyone else is, so like let him struggle and learn.
Right. That's what I think with getting Stanton. I said before I didn't want to acquire him because of this very issue we have. And Stanton has been A-Rod in the sense that he hits home runs, obviously, when we're up by 8 already. Now, to be fair, he was clutch in our 3 playoff games.
He was
in 2020. But, and I'm not trying to push away the guy. He's so talented and everything, but this was such an avoidable problem. And also adding the fact we have such a right-handed heavy lineup. It's a mystery. And I guess we just have to wait for these games to file out, going back to the stadium this weekend. And I just hope we'll have a better sense and not get this antsy like we have been in the upcoming weeks. Now, Dan, you're Red Sox, man.
Yeah, let's talk about something fun and not depressing.
Your team hasn't lost on the road yet. As we're recording this, 9 in a row, still doing a doubleheader now, looking
10 in
like
a row.
They won
the third game.
So they did win. So, okay, Great for you. So 10 in a row. The over-under was only 80.5. Nobody, no sale. Questioning what is JD Martinez, and he's playing like an MVP.
He's done. He's washed. Last season, come on, JD's best days are behind him, dude. Last season, did you see that bum last season? JD is over, my guy.
Yeah, that's a lot of things to question there, or what's Devers and all that. You lose Benintendi, but yet you guys are scoring runs, you're hitting, Gar pitching well. How you feeling about this? Is this legit, or is it like, the Mets in 2018 started on 11-game winning streak and then they fell flat on their face? What is the situation here?
I tried to tell people, Matt. I tried to tell people all offseason how nasty this lineup was going to be and how there isn't a safe spot 1-9 against this Red Sox team. And, a couple players are still taking time to warm up. Like Dahlbeck had an awesome spring and he hasn't really warmed up yet. Kike's starting to get there. I think he's eventually going to be the leadoff guy that we're missing with the Benintendi role. I'm wearing his jersey right now. This just came in today. But last year, this lineup was just as good. The Red Sox led the league in hits and batting average, the American League, I'm sorry, in hits and batting average last year. And nobody noticed and nobody cared because the pitching was giving up 10 a night. And the Red Sox were irrelevant because of it. And now you're starting to see that the rotation is going out and having good starts. Nick Pivetta being an unreal addition so far, holding down the bottom of that rotation. The bullpen stepping up. Matt Barnes is turning into the closer that nobody thought he could be. The pride of Bethel, Connecticut, by the way, the town over from Danbury. I used to work there. Love me some Bethel. Love me some Matt Barnes. But now you're starting to see the power that this lineup can have when the pitching allows them to be as good as they are. And I mean, in terms of it being sustainable, I mean, the Red Sox have put up, we recorded on Monday, and it's only gotten worse since we recorded then. But since the Red Sox got swept by the Orioles to start, in the next 6 games, they put up 53 runs. And is that sustainable? Yeah. No. But I think the consistent production of this lineup and, the big hitters coming back in a big way is sustainable. And I think, the Cora effect is having a huge impact as well, with him being back and bringing all these guys back together and really building the fun in the clubhouse again. The Red Sox are having fun again. There was not 1 ounce of fun had at Fenway Park last season, on the field or off the field.
And nobody you lost Mookie amongst that too. And I guess it's
nobody was having fun anywhere. Now you look in that lineup, like they're pushing JD in the cart through the dugout. Like this team's having fun again. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Alex Cora brought back, was just the belief that they can go out, they can have fun, be a good baseball team, play good baseball. And just a lot of things that Red Sox fans who've been watching for the last 2 years or so that knew that this team could achieve and had the potential to achieve, it's finally clicking in the early stages of the season now. And it's been really, really fun to watch. The Red Sox are the most fun in baseball right now.
Yeah, fuck that, but I can't deny it's something else. Like I said, over under was 8.5, and you're already a tenth of the way there.
Yeah,
and it's only mid-April. So
yep.
Oh boy, that's a bet I wish I should have said. Even that would have been a hard for pride wise, but that would be a great payday. Well, now the big moment. Dan, tell me the New York Yankee you hate the most.
Oh man, I really should have started thinking of this earlier, because man,
there's just so
many.
Are
their candidates.
Can we go through multiple, Matt?
Yeah. Say as many as you want. Feel free. It doesn't have to be one particular.
We might need a whole new episode for this.
Please let it out. Let it out.
I'll go Veritek. I'll go Pedro just for the Don Zimmer alone.
I fucking hate Pedro. You're embarrassing yourself.
For the Don Zimmer. Come on, bro. That's like throwing your grandfather to the ground. Like, that's ultimate disrespect. Like, come on. Don Zimmer is the grandfather of the Yankees.
Hell yeah.
Maybe even like Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar. I mean,
you got to get better at hating, Tom.
Just fuck Kevin Millar.
Fuck Kevin Millar.
I don't know. Just another like Kyle Van Noy type, where it's like, I mean, he wasn't like as good as Kyle Van Noy, but
what about Big Poppy?
Don't like
steroid user, tested positive.
Yeah, true. Poppy's on there.
The same.
One thing with
yes,
Poppy
I know A-Rod's tested too, but
Poppy never got the backlash that A-Rod had.
Yeah.
Not that he deserves it, but Poppy deserves a little bit. And I feel like everyone loves Poppy. It was like, well, guys, he was juicing too, and he gets none of it.
Yeah, they
understand.
Literally pushed that under the rug.
Yeah, I get A-Rod wasn't a very likable guy, I guess. Everyone just hated him from the start.
Yeah.
But like, I don't get it how even from like Yankee fans that like people just forget. You're like, oh yeah, that guy juiced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to remind it because that's what they all say about A-Royd, but I know a lot of A-Rod's criticism. He also, though he himself admitted he's wrongdoing, with the lying on camera and on the air with my friend Sessa, and then, doing all of these weird, he just wanted to be Jeter number 2, but that shows that some people are just in certain categories,
For sure.
And, but I hate David Ortiz the most, for sure. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the guy, I really do. And I was genuinely sad when I heard he got shot in the Dominican Republic, and was happy to hear he made a full recovery. But man, he's got a lot of anguish. He's put a lot of hell. I mean, 04 really is an eyesore. Like, I have this guy, I'll say his name, Brad, my buddy Brad, most annoying Red Sox fix. I know he's not a true baseball fan, but he specifically comes at me under my skin, and he'll say yourself. And every time he says 04, I say, you can't even name anyone on that team besides Manny or Poppy. But I'll still say it anyways.
Josh Beckett. Another guy I'll put on that list.
What?
Fuck yeah. Celebrated. It's sad. He's the last World Series. He's the one celebrating at the old Yankee Stadium.
Dan, who are yours? I'm very interested.
Yeah. Who are the Yankees you hate the most? Bubble Crosby.
Yeah. A-Fraud and Jeets definitely headline the class, but
what about Jeter do you hate? I need to dive into that a little bit.
You know what, Tom? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you one moment that completely encapsulates my hate for Derek Jeter. So, very famous play that resulted in a very famous picture. Derek Jeter.
I already know where you're going.
This encapsulates everything I hate about Derek Jeter. Pop fly to third base. Derek Jeter's ball. Derek Jeter catches the ball in fair territory and then dives into the stands like an idiot.
Hey, man, he has some momentum running in there. I remember seeing that live. I actually saw that. Live.
This is going to be framed in sports bars.
Damn straight.
I'm going to catch this ball in fair territory and dive into the stands.
Dan.
Yeah. There's
he
no
had
Red
like
Sox
2 steps before the wall, bro. You think he was like, yeah, let me go and just demolish my beautiful face into these seats and fans' bodies. And he missed like a month because of it. Let me just miss a month of baseball.
His staged final hit at Yankee Stadium. That was part of it.
Oh, staged hit.
Oh, put on your tinfoil hat for me, Dan.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
How is that staged?
Put that through.
All right, that's serious allegations. That's game fixing allegations.
A man you may have heard of who runs the entire league named Joe Torre.
Shut up. You can't use that with everything. Get out of here. Everything. Torre. It's like, the Sox lose. Damn it, Joe Torre.
Top 2 things that need to be investigated. That and Jeter sending Carlo to the Yankees.
That would definitely have to be investigated.
That deserve federal investigations. Sure. But to round out my least favorite Yankees, I'll include an active one, but he's in the same stratosphere as the other headliners for me. I love me to hate some Aroldis Chapman, man. I hate
him too.
I love seeing him.
Yeah, I hate him. I hate Chapman.
And again and again and again. Just without fail. On both on more than one team, that too. It really is amazing how they still trust this guy. And then the one guy can make that replacement, Zach Britton, out. It's not coming back till May. I mean, if Chapman, what is this? This will be 5th time's a charge. 16 blows in the World Series. Didn't blow in a 17 or 18, but 19 laughing, even though Jose Altuve's wearing a buzzer. Obviously, then 2020. I mean, 4th time's a charm. What can I say? Like, I'll never forget. I was watching on this TV in this apartment, the Yankees and the Rays, when the Rays had the chance to send him home. Literally, even as like someone who clearly roots for this to happen and is like, yeah, he's going to blow it again. I was watching that game like, there's no way he does it again, is there?
Like there's fucking no, smile and laugh again too.
Like there's no way he actually blows this again and sends the Yankees home again against the Rays. No way. No, like that'd be cool, but it's like, come on, you can't have everything and then over the wall. And I lost my mind. I absolutely lost it.
Well, thanks for sharing, Dan.
Oh, it was a great day. It was a great day.
Go fuck yourself.
Yankee Elimination Day, just, man, one of my favorite days of the year. And it does come every year without fail.
History's going to change, as Marty McFly said once. So, last thing, just want to hit in baseball, Jared. What the hell's going on in baseball? Why do they like to baseball? Why do they like not to have fun? First, Nick Cassiano on the Reds. He poses 2-game suspension. You are fucking stupid. This is the guy is making you viral, and you suspend him. We have umps blowing calls, looking at the review, and still blowing calls where you have enough evidence to show it should be overturned. I see a situation right for Twitter now. That's the case. It seems is it the Braves again? I saw a John Boy just posted right here. We have another blown call.
Where they called him safe when he didn't even touch home plate.
Yeah, and it's Braves again. It's funny, always the Braves, huh? Braves Marlins, and why? What's Rob Manfred, the guy with the no balls whatsoever of all the commissioners, and that's saying something. But guys, why is baseball just doing this themselves? We know we're going to probably have a work stoppage, and any chance you can make the game fun, you just have to suspend someone. You have to fine them. You have to make someone look bad. Doesn't baseball want to be popular? Doesn't baseball not want to fall in the cracks?
They do, but their actions don't match up with their words.
Yeah,
because the whole ad and marketing campaign last year was around the young guys making baseball fun again, and they brought Griffey into it, because Griffey made baseball fun back in the 90s, backwards hat and everything. But baseball is not, they don't make it fun because they deter people from bat flipping or showing up the pitchers, when a pitcher can just as well show up a hitter if they want to, and there's no retaliation. So I don't know why they get into a hissy fit for when a batter does it. It only adds to the excitement, and it's awesome. I don't know a fan who doesn't like it, really. Like, if you do, it's a boomer who just doesn't understand the entertainment aspect of it. And then they think that shortening games will attract fans, but they have collectively in the NL, the pitchers, I retweeted this today, are batting like $118 this year so far, with like a near 50% strikeout rate. People don't want to see pitchers. People don't want to see pitchers hit. Like, add another DH. You're adding more jobs for DHs to make a career out of, which, because Big Papi is an example. He's not in the league if there is no DH. He's just not. No one's putting him at first base. And David Ortiz never has a Hall of Fame career. So you're literally giving the opportunity to employ 15 more baseball players that wouldn't have the chance because they can't field and they don't have a position, but they could rake. Great. Good for baseball. More offense. Great for baseball. I don't buy into the argument that, strategy and the sanctity of the game. It's complete nonsense. Just modernize the game and be just a little bit conscious of where people really want the game to go, instead of the select few that think the purity of the game is at stake,
which no one cares about.
No, nobody wants to see a sacrifice bunt from a pitcher when there's bases loaded. Like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Or a pitcher get injured When you're paying Jacob deGrom a lot of money to win Cy Youngs and he gets injured for swinging a bat or running the bases, like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take Kershaw, the end of his career, or deGrom in the middle of a Cy Young run for people to come up in arms and be like, this is stupid, like really stupid, and we need it to change.
Joke's on you, baseball. You got to change your ways.
I have a
Anything
very
else to
strong
add?
opinion on that, if you can't tell.
They got to
Very
stop
much.
pulling the Twitter clips too. That's one of the biggest
Yeah.
things. They're shooting
Social media is
themselves
a
in the
whole
foot
nother
with.
thing. It's complete short-term money grab.
It's so
And-
hard for them to show these clips and stuff.
Yeah, people free
the worst.
advertising of your sport. It's
Mhm.
awful. It's terrible. You know, it's,
When you have the most like Twitter clippable game out of anything.
Yeah.
Like even people who don't like sports like watching like I could show my mom like a monster home run and she'd be like, "Oh wow."
absolutely.
Whereas like if I showed her like a one-timer from Bergeron, she couldn't give a less of a shit.
like you want to shorten the game and make more bang for your buck. Well, like highlights are awesome. So
Yeah.
package them in highlights and let people package those highlights because those highlights are entertaining. Maybe a full-length game for a non-baseball purist isn't. But letting people share, did you see this pimp job by like Acuna today? And did you see he beat out a ground ball to first base? Or sorry, a ground ball to shortstop to first base, and he ran to first base in 2.9 seconds. Like that's cool. Let's let it go viral and let organic reach happen. But no, they need their buck for everything that they send because they got their trademark on it.
Yeah.
It's just terrible for
some
the sport and
bullshit.
growing it.
That's why John Boy's the last straw to help these highlights cool and making funny commentaries, showing the personalities of the players. Like baseball would have to baseball owes everything to John Boy making that relevant. It's like
Definitely.
it's like Funhouse for Mike Francesa. Would he be as popular without him? And he actually banned his clips for a while. And then let's
Yeah.
be real, they realized that no one's going to whatever Entercom, Twitter. They're going through
Right.
Funhouse to do it, and that's what exactly baseball's thing with Tom Boy doing that.
Definitely.
100%.
Oh man, guys, we've been killing it. We've been killing it for over 2 hours. And
Yeah, man, marathon sesh. I was just looking at it. I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
2.5 right now pushing.
Pretty
yeah, I
insane.
hope you've been enjoying it. This has been much faster than the time it feels like. And I hope you've been enjoying as much
Definitely.
as I have. Like we just have to finish our last questionnaires.
Awesome.
So we'll start with Dan in the Prouse questionnaire. Your big debut, just simply 10 short but sweet questions. And Dan, let me ask you them. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. You ready?
Absolutely.
My first question on the Prouse questionnaire for Dan is, what's your favorite word?
It's cute. I'm gonna give you the preface. But my favorite word is together.
Ah, that's a good one. Why together?
Because like just the significance of it and how really like at the end of the day we're all on this rock together, and what we do together to build and fulfill is like really what matters at the end of the day. So that's my favorite word.
I hear that. Great. What's your least favorite word?
Oh, my least favorite word. Oh. So like my natural inclination is moist, but like I'm not a huge like moist guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me either.
But like
bother
I don't know.
Who
That's
really
what my brain
uses
said.
moist in a word too in their everyday lives.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's my answer because I don't have another one readily available. But I think the moist type is very overplayed.
I agree.
Good one.
It shouldn't make people that uncomfortable.
Agree.
So this is a more life and fulfillment question, not a sexual question like some people have assumed.
All right.
But some people have said sex for this.
I'm
And
so
that-
excited
that's-
for this question.
And that's just hilarious. But what turns you on in this world, Dan?
When you're talking to somebody that about something that they're passionate about.
Mhm.
And when you're making eye contact with them, and as they're talking, you can kind of read their eyes and see that little bit of twinkle and that
Mhm.
enthusiasm that they talk about it with. I get off on that shit.
I hear you.
That, even if it's something that I'm not particularly interested in, I love talking to people about things that they give a shit about, just because it's not terribly cool to get like really be invested in things anymore. And as someone with a lot of hobbies and honestly more things that I'm into than I have time for, it's something that I really, really enjoy.
Great one.
That's what turns me on.
Great answer on there. Great answer.
Thank you.
Next, what turns you off in this world?
What turns me off in this world is not going out and actively trying to be the best version of yourself.
Right?
Whether that be professionally, whether that be personally. If you have something in your life that you could easily maybe not even easily, but you could pursue. You say, I'm not happy in my job. People who just say, yeah, I guess that's kind of the way it is. And like, I'll find fulfillment in other places. And I guess I kind of just have to get through, and not saying I'm going to put the work in to find a job that fulfills me. Or like, I wish I could like stop smoking. Or like a huge one I hear all the time is like, oh, like, I wish I could like go to the gym, but I just don't have time. Like just
That's a fucking lie.
Yeah, just like the simple, super transparent excuses that people make to not like go out and really get after it. It's so prominent, and it turns me off really quickly.
That's one of the best answers I've heard to that question. Thank you for that, Dan.
Appreciate that.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise do I love? Let's see. So, little bit off the sports beaten path here, but my dad's favorite sport is NASCAR. And we've been going to races together since I was 8-9 years old.
Nice.
And like when I hear like just being out in the grandstands and hearing like the engines rev up and like everybody go crazy over it, that it ties into my love of like crowds in general that I get from like my sports and concerts and stuff. But it also like makes me think of, you know, going out and having an adventure with him. So that's one of my favorite sounds for sure.
That's
just
a
like
great
engines
one.
revving. Yeah.
What's it like seeing those cars genuinely move 200 miles an hour back and forth?
It's pretty crazy. Like if you have never done it before, I'm not going to say it's for everybody. It's not something I'm going to say everybody should do, but it's a spectating experience that isn't really replicable anywhere else.
Oh, yeah. I would love to go to a NASCAR race.
I
love the horse racing. So
gotcha.
I do have the patience for that. We have behind me American Pharoah and Secretariat. So
okay,
I love
so
watching
you actually like horse racing. You don't just like money.
Oh yeah, no, I love just it's so majestic how these creatures are worth millions of dollars and they're just living their best life, and then you're done, you're retired by 3 years old, and then we obviously know you make babies for the rest of your life. So I mean, of course the gambling aspect, of course, right?
If you bet horses, you don't like money because you just lose money all the time.
Yeah, you have to like.
Okay.
I mean, that's a crapshoot. I mean, it is crazy some of these odds they come together and win, and that it's just 2.5 minutes to on your feet. So if you really want those headaches, be my guest. But I just like the competition. I really do.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Let's see. Okay. So I know it's comparable to nails on a chalkboard, but nothing sends like my nervous system into a tailspin more than, you know, like when you're eating dinner and you have your fork and your knife on your plate and like your fork slides a little bit and it makes nails on a chalkboard noise. It's different from nails on a chalkboard, but that like shuts my body down, that noise. Like
Yeah.
it's that's where my mind went. I'm having really weird answers for a lot of these questions, but
No,
that's probably
they're
my
pretty
my
spot
least.
on.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
probably
they're
my least
great
favorite
answers,
sound.
man. I really like your. This is one of the more enjoyable ones. Yeah, you really have something to say with it. So thank you for it. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, great question. I mean, you get a question like this, you feel like you want to go a little bit obscure, like you want to pull something that like is a little bit off the beaten path in, but when it comes to how satisfying it is to say, how versatile it is, and just how it's like the undisputed king of swear word, like it's not even close.
Yeah,
It's really, no one is in fuck's league. It like it's got its own stratosphere in the swear world.
it really is one of the greatest words ever created.
It's one of the best words ever. Yeah, not
Yeah.
even just swear words.
Literally, man.
Yeah.
uh, what profession other than your own, and we'll count what you do in higher ed and what you do here in podcasting, but what profession other than the ones you do already would you like to attempt?
Would I like to attempt? So I've been a musician most of my life.
Oh, cool.
And
What
it's
do you play?
always I play guitar is my main instrument.
Mhm.
But on the side I do drums and bass. I'm not quite as good as I am on the guitar, but yeah, I've played music since I was around 10 years old, and it's never something I've ever viewed as more than a hobby. I don't think I have passion for it, but not the kind required to really go out and pursue it as a career. But if like everything else in my life were no object, that would be something I would really like to invest the time and the energy in and get better at, and try to like start a band or be a studio musician or something like that.
How about that? How about that? Cool.
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
What I definitely not want to do. It's funny because I'm generally a pretty open-minded person, so there's not a lot that I won't at least like hear about, if not try. So it's hard to say from the outside something I'm like totally closed-minded to, but I guess. Oh, I've always wondered how like morticians and funeral directors like get up and do what they do every day.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Like,
I've been waiting for a long time for someone to say that.
I
In this
making that
questionnaire.
your life's work to just work with people going through the worst time in their lives.
Yeah, very much.
It's kind of unfathomable to me. It really is.
Yeah, every single day of different, and it shows that grief is for everyone, no matter where you are in your life. And yeah, I've wondered that for a long time too, Dan, is how they do it, and it's crazy what we have to do in our worlds to get this cash.
But I feel even like for something like that, I'm sure there's a way you could spin it to where you're like, oh, you see like a different part of like the human condition than most people see, or like you get to see, sides of the human spirit that like you don't get to see when you're just like working in a regular job and working with people who aren't going through times like this or don't deal with something as morbid as death. Like even with something as like black and white terrible as like running a funeral home, I'm sure there's some way that you could be like, you know what, it's actually pretty fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's I hope we could get productive conversation out of that with someone someday and learn that aspect. And my final question for you, Dan, today, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Wow. Man, I wasn't expecting to end on such a deep wrenching note.
That's how you know with this show.
Just like Hey, for the most part, like you treated people the way you wanted to be treated, and like you did it. Good job.
Great
Like
answer, man.
just hearing like some validation. I'm like, you know what? The whole human thing, you did it fairly well.
Look at
Just
that.
something like simple and reassuring like that, I guess.
All right. Cool. And also, one thing, there's a perfect game alert with Carlson Zone, not one base runner in 8 innings. So
Yeah, he's got a no-hitter.
look at that. So also Thomas,
Yes.
now your questionnaire to end this epic classic episode off.
My gauntlet. Let's do it.
The Eric Andre questionnaire.
So excited for this.
What's funny, and that really helps, Thomas, is the fact that you aren't familiar with Eric Andre or his show. So this makes it even easier, or maybe more absurd, depending how this goes. So
Yeah.
Eric Andre show, simply my favorite late night talk show of him doing whatever the craziest, most grotesque things you could think of humans could do without being cruel and mean. And Eric Andre asks literally the weirdest questions ever. That's saying something. So to honor the great Eric Andre, we do the Eric Andre questionnaire for returning guests of this show. So this is directly from his show. These are his questions, not mine. I'm going to ask you them. Answer them however you please. There's no right or wrong answer. There are some pretty absurd questions, but again, just give them warning. These aren't mine. These are his. But it's just funny to see what you have to say. So, ready, Thomas? The Eric Andre questionnaire?
Let's do it.
Okay, you said it. Let's do it. Man, let's start. Where do we start with, man? On the thing, on this list. We'll start. We'll let it grow. We'll grow. So,
Just let it fly.
My first one. When you go for a whiz, do you get a sense of Khalifa?
What is Khalifa?
Hey, that's the question.
What does that even mean?
Answer the question, Tom.
Yes, I do.
Yes. All right. All right. That's number one. Number two. Are you familiar with bukkake?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Tom, I'm not. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah.
In as much detail as possible.
It's like a very absurd act.
Whatever do you mean?
Isn't it like shitting in someone's mouth?
Oh, you actually don't know what it is.
All right, then I don't. I thought I did.
All right.
Almost.
The tables.
So when one mom when one lady and 5 other guys like each other very, very much. And,
oh yeah, there we go.
And with consent that she, how do I say this? Without being blunt, and they all, then they
just imagine if you had a fire hose full of ranch dressing. That's what it looks like. Great.
Yes. It's a it's a ranch dressing party.
I'm yes.
All right, next question.
Yeah, exactly. Number 3. What's your cell phone number?
1-800-588-300 Empire. That's mine.
Great answer.
All right.
You also would have accepted 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Yes. Yes.
Number 4. Would you titty fuck Martha Stewart?
Yes, I would titty fuck Martha Stewart.
That's the soundbite. He asked, I think, he asked some rapper that. He said, yeah. What's the farthest you ever gone with the girl?
all the way. What other is there?
My man.
My favorite, when I asked that people like to do geographic locations,
That's
someone
funny.
said second base, and that's anal. Well, that's their quote from mom.
Second base is anal for them. Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Someone answered that. So I don't even want to
Yeah,
know.
it would have been funny if it was like
Oh,
Topeka.
So when was the last time you ate?
It's about 6 o'clock.
And what was the most disgusting thing you ever ate in your life?
Jeez. Most disgusting thing I've ever ate in my life. Dude, I don't even know. I really gotta think about that.
Oh man. Number 7. Number 7. How come a wolf is the only thing that can be aware?
I have no idea. That question was so lit.
That's
It was
a fucking
just
phenomenal question.
it's amazing.
Wow.
I think that's about the top of the mountain for rhetorical questions. I don't even know how to respond to that one.
Right? Never forget. How come a wolf is the only thing to be aware? Number 8. Can you tell us your deepest, darkest secret?
Oh, take this one seriously, please.
I don't know. I'm a pretty open book.
The darkest secret that no one's ever heard you say, exclusively on the Productive Conversation podcast.
Darkest secret. Jeez. I really don't know. I don't have many secrets. I really don't. It's hard to even think about them.
You could just make up one too. Or there's something in middle
I
school that
could.
you did.
Like something embarrassing. Yeah, we could do that. All right, one thing I regretted. This is embarrassing. So I one time texted a girl asking her out, and it turned out it wasn't her number, it was her best friend's.
Oh, that's cruel.
And I didn't realize it, obviously.
And over text too.
Yeah,
Was she-
over text.
Was she hotter than the original girl?
No.
Sad day. Sad day. Usually the best
Close,
friend is
though.
like pretty. You're like, usually like the best friend is at least
Very close.
at least a lateral move. Yeah.
I wouldn't have been upset
Gotcha.
with the alternative.
She turned you down too, though, huh?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
She lost.
Did you like?
out.
When she said no, were you just like okay, or were you like, I didn't even mean to text you in the first place?
No, because I think why this is so embarrassing is because I still didn't even realize that it was because she didn't say her name.
Oh no.
So I still didn't realize until like the next day.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, no.
I thought you were gonna say like, I didn't realize until I was a junior in college.
No, I realized like the next day.
Well,
But yeah,
she
was-
missed
That's
out.
all right. That's tough.
I would say that's a secret. Many people don't know that, I would say.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
I'll
pretty
take that.
solid. 2 more. Number 9. I just have the question right here. Number 9. Do we have enough porn?
No.
No.
Oh wow.
What else do we? Well, I guess there is more. I saw a third
Always innovating.
of internet traffic is porn. 1/3 of the whole internet.
Wow, I believe that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Jeez. Well, someone's got to create content, right?
True.
And
Get your bag.
the final one. What is the craziest thing you ever done? Hands down, the craziest. I can't believe I did this. I'm a legend.
Tom's like, I went on Boulder Dash one time. That was pretty cool.
I actually hate roller coasters.
Oh, all right. So down a level from that.
Yeah. Craziest thing I ever done. I mean, I played at Yankee Stadium.
Hell
I played baseball at Yankee Stadium. That was pretty freaking cool. I'd say that's legendary. It's not super crazy, but it's legendary.
I say that counts. That is crazy as fuck.
The good one or the bad one?
The old one.
The good one.
That's
okay.
The good one.
That's nuts. History. All right. Well, listen. Again, this was a great time, guys. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Between Two Gardens podcast on Spotify and soon to be on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And they have new episodes every Thursday. Guys, do we have any final words before we say goodbye?
Man, a lot of words in the last 3 hours. I don't know if I have any left, honestly.
A lot. Like, we might need to take a break next week from podcasting. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh,
This is a lot. But great conversations, man. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Really, really appreciate the support, and I'm very excited to see where both Between Two Gardens and Productive Conversations go.
Hell yeah, man.
Absolutely. I hope we could do this again down the road.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I love and appreciate you guys. I can't wait to see where you guys go as well. So you got my back anytime you need any help with anything in this crazy podcasting world. I'm here for you guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Absolutely. So until next time, I'll see you guys again. Again, that's Tom Arduino. It's Dan. Sorry, let me get this right. Dan Emmans. And again,
Damn Emmons.
Damn Emmons.
Dan Emmans, Tom Arduino. Don't forget to like and subscribe to their podcast every Thursday on Spotify. Have a great night, guys, and thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Have a great night.